All right, welcome back to another episode of the Lookout Podcast. I'm joined by Colton Mora. I almost combined both your names in one sentence. Thank you, Colton, for joining me, man. I appreciate you.
Luke, it is an absolute pleasure, my friend.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, we've been talking about doing this for quite a while. I think even like in the inception, like way back when we talked about sitting down, just talking shop. So great to have you.
Yeah, it's really cool to see what the podcast has become, and I think you're filling a very useful niche.
That's what I'm hoping, man. And, we'll have some knowledge to drop on some folks today. The first is a little tickler of what to expect to come. But before we kicked it off, man, you grew up in northern Illinois and,
Yep.
Spent a good amount of time because a lot of your time was also spent in Colorado where you're at
Right.
currently. But we were just discussing the bog and some of the rumors and could not nail down that there was any bodies actually buried in the Volo bog, at least that were recovered during the
None
gangster
that were recovered, but that doesn't mean that they're not in there. I don't know how often they do little scuba expeditions to try to see what they find.
And I kind of feel like they don't really want to because in case they do,
Yeah, that's true.
open that can of worms.
Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can't do anything for them now. But like you were just reading, if they were to do a little exploration, they might find a very intact body, huh?
It would make the forensics pretty easy to do on that because the bog water has that low oxygen, really acidic environment from all the vegetation as it's turning into peat, which eventually turns into coal. And that preserves skin, flesh, hair. You hear about it over in like England and Europe where they'll pull people out and they can dissect their stomach and see that they had, meat and potatoes inside.
Whoa, dude. That's pretty wild. Yeah, could you imagine? Like, oh, this is where Phil went. Here he is. Oh, man.
Yeah. Oh, been looking for you, buddy.
Yeah, and the rumor I remember us being told is I think maybe like a kid, is that, because it is like that floating mat, is that they just like peel a little bit back or cut some back, flop whatever person they were trying to get rid of in the hole and then put that mat back over.
Let it get absorbed.
Yeah, let it disappear.
And I don't know if they know fully how deep it is because it was formed by the glaciers back, that whole area used to be the sliding glaciers or sliding up, I guess, from the north. And that kind of created the lakes and created the bog, made a kettle hole. And I don't know if they know truly how deep it is.
Yeah, I wonder, but I was always kind of curious about it. It looks... like you can walk on those floating boardwalks and
it's deceptive.
Yeah, right?
You think you can step in and then you're a part of history.
Yeah, exactly. Next form of humans might find you.
Yeah.
And and even like you get up high and you kind of look down on it, dude. It's so dark looking. The little pockets you can see into it, and you're like, ooh,
It's very ominous. It's very ominous, and it's deceiving because you see the little tadpoles and the ducks and, the natural fauna around. It's like, oh, this is a, kind of a friendly, cool place. But then when you think about the fact that there is the possibility that something could get stuck in there and never make it out, I think one of the urban legends was that 3 cows wandered into the bog and they never made it out. So someone might find some cows in there sometime.
Yeah, which you'd think would be pretty feasible, right? Like if there's a section of mat, like the island that was a little more connected or a little more shallow, so maybe it was giving like that false bottom, and then all of a sudden you get the deeper water, and
and then it's too late. And I'm sure they're capable of swimming, but I don't think cows are known for being good swimmers.
Yeah, exactly. Amphibious.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally, man. And just like you said, I was going to tag on to. It says formed in an ancient glacial kettle hole lake, Volo Bog features a floating mat of sphagnum moss. I hope I'm saying that right.
Yeah, I think so.
Cattails and sedges surrounding the open pool of water in the center of the in the center of the bog. Further from the open water, the mat thickens enough to even support floating trees, which is kind of wild. Oh, yeah, because they got those tamaracks in the middle.
Yep, yeah.
Volo Bog, the bog, was dedicated as the 25th Natural Preserve in June 1970 as the southernmost open water quaking bog in North America to exhibit all stages of bog succession. And then it just kind of goes into some other stuff about the bog. But, yeah, pretty cool spot.
That's a really cool spot, especially given the fact that it is surrounded by a super and still growing urban environment. It's like it's a little lighthouse, like a little beacon, so to speak, of natural wild land in the middle of
sprawling.
Just sprawling urban expansion.
Yeah, man, totally. And a little oasis and like kind of a lesser known area. I feel like it feels like the area's gotten so busy that people don't even. I mean, there's a few folks that recreate and it's a great spot to go, but I think people just kind of overlook it because it's kind of not that far off the beaten path, but it's off to the side.
I know, like the local schools, they'll go on field trips there, and
good.
people like the locals that walk their dogs, they go there because it's a pretty low traffic park.
It is, man. Very peaceful.
It's very peaceful, and that's one of the huge attractants about it is that you get all these different. They have grasslands, they have hills, they have forests, they have like the bog and the creeks. I mean, just an array of wildlife and different little biomes.
Yeah,
and it's all in one park.
Totally, man. Yeah, and they have those little pitcher plants that are kind of like Venus flytraps, like.
I just my last trip through the bog, and I had been there. I couldn't tell you how many times. That was my first time ever actually seeing one, and maybe it's because I'm older and I kind of learned to walk slower, look where you're watching, or watch where you're walking, and really see the things around you. And I finally noticed those, and I was just plumb tickled.
Yeah, same. I was there with my kiddo, and I was just like, I kind of paused, like, and it's just the tiniest sign, like, was pointing it out, like, really, like, on the ground.
Yeah.
So, like, it just happened to catch the corner of my eye, and I was like, huh. And I started reading, I was like, oh, I know what that is. I've seen those in Wisconsin before. And then, sure enough, there's, like, a few of them poking up. I was like, that is super cool.
What a cool thing. And I always like to think about what the evolutionary track was for a plant to turn into something like that. It's
like a carnivore.
It's like a carnivore. Yeah. And it's, it's not conscious. At least we don't know. I don't think it's conscious, but
not that I'm aware of.
But it's still, it's a predator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, neat. Totally, man. I don't know too much about botany, but yeah, it's a super cool plant. And that's what's really cool about that too, is like you were talking about the diversity of that little island right there, and like you got the tamaracks, which is a super cool tree because it's one of the only pine trees that loses needles and changes colors.
Yeah.
And then like just the mat itself, and then these pitcher plants, and then maybe a gangster, might be in there too.
You never know. There are rumors.
There are
rumors.
Yeah, man. And then I found out some stuff tonight when me and you were just spitballing like about like the Mineola and Al Capone and stuff, and it's wild that there's still. So much of that kind of still around. Like you were saying, was it your uncle or your grandpa was a real estate agent, and he was showing a house that was one of Al Capone's.
That's right, yeah, and it had like false backs and closets that would open up to little secret rooms down to a gambling room or a secret getaway. And one of the rumors was that he had a pathway under on one of the lakes, about 2 inches under the water, so that if he was starting to get busted, he could drive across the water on his little hidden roadway. Whoa. And make it from point A to point B just enough to give him enough time to really hit the bricks.
Yeah. Whoa, dude. I mean, especially like the money he had, like maybe, right?
That's true because, like you had mentioned earlier, Al Capone, he's got the money and the resources. He's not going to be staying in any podunk, a little temporary housing. He's going to make it his own. He's going to live like a king.
Yeah, totally. And try to cover probably every, escape route that he can probably think of just in case something does happen.
When you got that big of a target on your back, it certainly makes you want to cover your tracks.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Man, it's super cool. I'd love to see that kind of stuff, man.
And the cool thing about Al Capone is everybody thinks Chicago, but it's little known that he also had a lot of influence out west. You had mentioned earlier a story about him coming into Montana. What was that like?
Yeah, like I kind of wish I remember. My brother knows it really well, but was it Jerry the Wise? I think was the sheriff in Butte at the time, and for folks who aren't as familiar with the history of Butte at the time, Butte was about the same size as Chicago because of all the mining and just full of tough humans. And that's big. Why I'm probably such a big fan of Butte and all my Butte buddies still, because it lives on through them. But I remember was Jerry the Wise. It was Jerry, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Something with a J.
Yeah, something with a J. We'll stick with Jerry. People can check it out. But Yeah, the story goes that Al Capone showed up on the train, and Jerry met him there, and I had originally thought that Jerry had showed him around the town. I was like, yeah, here, come check out our city, and then told him not to come back. But what my brother was telling us is that he didn't even let him get off the train. He's like, there's nothing here for you, and you best leave, otherwise they'll never find you again.
That's right. We don't play by your rules. I'm the rules.
Yep.
And you step off that train, you're gone.
Yeah, no one's coming looking.
That's right.
Yeah, that's like that's tough, man. That's that Butte mentality.
Well, what's interesting, and this is, for me, one of the things I love about the West, is despite the modernization, there's a lot of places, Montana being one of them, that still kind of share those type of traits.
Yeah.
For example, I'm from Los Animas County in Colorado, and the river that runs through it, they call it the Purgatory River. Oh. Now, Los Animas translates to like lost souls.
Oh.
And so what they say is nobody comes to Los Animas County unless you're trying to disappear or make someone disappear.
Oh.
And I think when you have that kind of reputation, you got to be tough. But oddly enough, even all the way down in the middle of nowhere, Colorado, Al Capone still has his influence. And the town of Trinidad has a lot of cobblestone streets and marble buildings, brickwork buildings. And that's from the Italian mob bringing their buddies, their brick workers from Chicago, and charging astronomical fees to get some work done. Man. If they're eating, everybody's eating, and they saw a nice open market, and they took advantage of it.
Yeah, it's wild too. I would travel like that,
Oh yeah.
It's like, but like you said earlier, man, it's just like, well, this is gonna be, we're gonna set up shop for a while. Let's do it right. And you even saw that like in World War II, right? Years later, I guess it'd be, beyond the Prohibition period,
right?
During the 40s and I guess late 30s. And especially you still see it in like the remakes of these movies where the Nazis would set up shop somewhere. Well, and even the British, and they'd make it like super nice. Like they'd bring all their stuff with them, and they'd have it all kind of fancy for their military folks.
Sure. Well, Trinidad it's on the Santa Fe Trail, and it was kind of looked at as once you crossed the Great Plains and you made it to Trinidad, you were finally out west.
Oh.
And that was kind of like the starting point, because from there you could go north, or you could continue further west. You could kind of go south into, at the time, that was newly acquired Spanish country.
Oh, gotcha.
And so
that, like a crossroads, so it was like a good junction.
Exactly. So it was very popular, and I could only assume that at the time when Al Capone made his way out there, presumably being on the lam from Chicago and the heat was getting a little too close, that he walked into this podunk, minor cowboy town and took a look around and said, this isn't going to work for me. So
change a few things around here.
And to this day, the architecture still stands, and it is, beautiful and really gives a nice classic feel.
Yeah, which is kind of nice. It's probably rough at the time for those folks, but like to see some of those marble structures and stuff is really cool to me. Was that the same town you were saying that there was a body left in the middle of town?
Yeah, so as the story goes, in the town of, I believe it was of Aguilar,
gotcha.
that somebody had crossed Al Capone wrong, and he shot him dead in the street, and they just left his body there because they did not want to poke that bear because they knew what he was capable of. So they figured they just let him dispose of it, and he just left it there as a
little warning, maybe.
A warning, yeah, for the townsfolk that there's a new sheriff in town.
Yeah, that's a hell of a statement, like
I'd probably listen.
Yeah, I'd be like, all right, so yeah, gonna leave old Jim in the street there, and
that's right,
until he leaves.
That's right. Yeah.
Sorry, buddy. Oh yeah, that'd be brutal, dude.
Yeah, it's interesting the influence in southern Colorado, because you have, at least in my area, a lot of Italian influence, a lot of Native American influence, and a lot of Spanish influence. But then you also have the settlers and the miners and the gold rushers, and they all just kind of conglomerate. So you get, very interesting, a lot of Spanish and Italian sounding last names. It's a very cool melting pot.
Yeah, man, and that's the cool thing about all these cultures coming together. Butte's like that, right? Like all these different cultures that came to mine or support the mining effort. And Whitehall's big part of Whitehall where I'm from is to support the mining effort. I talked to folks who their family, was like either, dairy, so they had a bunch of, Holstein cows, or they were beef, cattle ranchers. There's a lot of them, a lot of the families I know, like going between Whitehall and Boulder there, were feeding, the railroad came right through there. So, they're able to put their cows or slaughter them right there and bring them right over to Butte and feed the huge mining effort that was going on,
Absolutely. What were they mining up there?
Copper is the big one.
Really?
Yeah. The rumor and that's kind of cool too story, because there's a rumor that they tripped over a pretty good sized gold vein and they just didn't.
Stepped over it for the copper.
Exactly, man, because copper was the thing at the time. And then there's these big old gallows frames in Butte that are super cool looking.
Really?
And, they still look to this day, man. They're still cool. And they light them up for holidays and stuff. And it's very cool. And me and my wife lived in the top of metals for a little while, which was super cool. And, as you know, Autumn.
Yeah.
And dude, that was such a great experience, dude, because there was kind of some little back door places in metals as well.
Sure.
And we got to know the owner a little bit, and super nice guy. But you can see the gallows frames from her window and or from our window, and then so I got to know a little bit about the history. And there's this story about one of them having a crow's nest in it for a machine gun nest. And I originally thought, and maybe I was originally told, that it was in case somehow we get invaded, probably by the north, through the north. It was to keep people out.
Right.
But then I heard a different story, that there was a time when the miners were starting to revolt, so it was more to keep the miners in.
Now talking about miners revolting, just a couple of miles south of me, in between where I live and the town of Trinidad, there's a town, if you could call it that, of Ludlow. Ooh. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with the Ludlow Massacre any?
No, it's super familiar, but I got nothing on it.
So Ludlow was a mining town, and big coal mining down by us. Not a lot of gold. There's rumors, but not a lot of gold, not a lot of silver, a lot of coal. So Ludlow was a mining town, and I believe it was owned by the Rockefellers. Oh. And if you've ever heard that song, I Owe My Soul to the Company Stove.
Yes.
That was
16 tons.
It was one of those situations. So the Rockefellers would own the housing, they'd own the grocery store, they own the miners, because your pay is controlled by them, and you start a tab at the local store, at the little Rockefeller General Store. Yeah. And eventually it got to the point where the miners were starting to get tired of the situation, that they were realizing it was, they were losing.
No escape.
That there was no escape, exactly, that they were pretty much stuck there, indentured servitude, and they didn't really see a way out. Now, as the story goes, is one day the miners are playing a baseball game against the Pinkerton agents. So they're playing a baseball game, all friendly, having fun. The very next day, Rockefeller sends in the Pinkertons to disperse their little protest, I suppose you could call it. And it was a massacre.
Oh.
And the Pinkertons, I believe, 13 children might have died in the process, and quite a few of the miners, and that was his way of kind of taming a unruly dog.
Oh, so the Pinkertons went and massacred the miners?
The Pinkertons went in and massacred the miners.
Oh.
And they have a memorial set up for it to this day. And I believe that was one of the turning points that started the idea of unions in the United States. Now, don't quote me on that, but I believe, because those guys, they really didn't have any rights, and then when they try to stand up for themselves, they get slaughtered, because it's I'm not going to try to deal with this, and I would assume not to spend the money on it, so put them down.
Yeah, totally, man. Then make them think twice they're going to do it again.
Yeah, and it's kind of a bleak, scary part of history if you think about it, but in the long term, maybe their sacrifice might have been worth it.
Yeah, totally, man. I mean, still talked about today,
that's right.
Right now.
That's right. Man. Shut out Ludlow Massacre.
Yeah, geez, man. And to those poor miners who lost their lives, and especially the children.
That's right. Just trying to make a living for yourself out in the West, doing some honest work.
Man, yeah. Ooh, I would be enraged, if they didn't get me in the first wave.
That's right.
Oh,
That's
my
right.
God, dude. There would be some wild things happening.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. I couldn't imagine. But, that's also like kind of a good segue to something else we were talking about previously in mining and the old Plumber's Gold, old Henry Plummer.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
the lost Bannock treasure.
Yes, sir. Yeah, man. And that's and when you asked me right before we started recording, and it's something I've been interested in always, I guess. I grew up just north of Dillon, and Bannock is not far outside of Dillon, ghost town now. And for folks who don't know, Henry Plummer was the sheriff of Bannock, and he also had mining claims, and like everybody did back then. And
Supposedly an outlaw on the side, maybe.
yeah, and that was a rumor. Is all
Yeah,
like
it was a rumor.
all the stagecoaches leaving town weren't making it to their destination full. They're showing up empty, if they're showing up, I guess. And the only person in town, I think, that knew the schedule, I think, was Henry Plummer.
Yeah.
I think that's how the story goes. But the thing is that none of it was ever recovered, right? Like
It's still, to this day, you never know.
Yeah.
Allegedly, if it is in fact out there.
Exactly.
And a lot of those treasure hunting stories, because there's quite a few of them out in Colorado. There's the lost Spaniard gold. There's the Arapaho Princess gold.
Wow, those sound awesome. Both those.
So the story behind the lost Spaniard gold is supposedly there was 7 or 8 mules, I think, that were all pulling bullion boxes with the gold bullion. And I think only 3 of them made it to their destination.
Oh.
And so the other ones are unaccounted for. And supposedly they're somewhere along the Purgatory River, hidden and stashed and never recovered. But no one's found anything. Some folks, some amateur treasure hunters have found pieces of Spaniard armor, and I think some very decomposed like knives and maybe even a pistol or 2.
Dude.
But that puts you on the right track, but you don't know for sure.
Yeah.
With that stuff, it could be right in front of you, like Forrest Fenn's treasure. It's right there and nobody found it.
True.
And he was leaving them clues. Most of these people didn't want their treasure to be found. That's for them.
Yeah, 100%, man. Because they always had plans to go back and get it,
That's right. And that the Arapaho Princess. So again, supposedly some Spaniards had some gold and silver, and they were chased out of town. They were being chased by the Native Americans at the time, and so they went running off into the hills. And there's a little bit of controversy as far as where the location was, all that. But they found a pillar, a rock spire that looked like a doll. So it's also called the Muñeca treasure, because that's doll in Spanish.
Oh.
So they found a pillar that looked like a doll, and they buried it 30 paces, and they put the mark of a shovel on one of the rocks, and underneath that rock is where the treasure is, supposedly.
Man.
But if you go, driving around looking at the different rock faces and the pillars, and I've also fallen for this. I got a couple of pictures where I swear, I'm like, that looks like a doll, doesn't it? I bet 30 yards in either direction there might be treasure. But the way that sandstone out there wears down with the rain and the weather out there, like there's a lot of different looking dolls, and it's like a Rorschach test. Someone might see a doll, someone might see a tree, but
yeah, especially what's on your brain, right?
Yeah, exactly. If you want to see a doll, that's the doll. That's the Muñeca treasure.
The curves and that. Yeah,
that's right.
Oh man, yeah, that would definitely play tricks in my brain too. Holes everywhere out there because I'm just be going mad.
And you just never know. Someone could find it. I know that if I found treasure, I wouldn't be advertising it. I'd be being pretty quiet about that.
Yeah,
but it could be just gone.
Totally. That was a rumor about plumbers too. It's like, man, I mean, because that was my thought, right? Like, before we started recording, I was saying that too. It's like being a wildland firefighter and having a ton of friends that do it. It's like we get out into some of the most remote spots, like that. People, it's just they're not destinations, right? They're just like, there's a fire, that's why we're there, middle of nowhere, and it's like it's not a common spot to go, and we're digging, so we're out there digging line, and I'm like, why don't I know somebody tripped over something?
That's right.
But it's kind of goes to what you said. It's like maybe someone did, and they didn't say a thing.
Yeah, that's oh boy, what a fun little treat that would be.
Yeah.
Being out on a fire digging ditches, and you hit a hollow box full of gold.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Look around like, oh, it's just me out here.
Yeah.
Because that was the thing with the plumber, is they thought like someone did already know where he was stashing it, because the rumor was he was stashing it back in his own mine. But as far as I know, they searched all that and didn't come up with anything. But who knows? Someone didn't get there first and just beat feet, you know?
You never know.
And if you're smart, you're going to beat feet a long ways away so that you're not like trickling your gold back into a bank just next door.
That's part of the mystique of these treasure stories, these lost treasures. You know, it's fun to think about, and nobody really truly knows the answer.
Exactly,
so it could
man.
be out there. It gives you the hope, you know.
Yeah, exactly, man. I like the mystery of it. I mean, even like Bigfoot. Like I've been out in the woods a lot, man. You've been out in the woods a lot. Like,
Oh yeah.
by myself or on fire or whatever, you know, and it's like hunting, especially especially because you're always glassing. So many hunters are out there looking. So it's like, yeah, if he was out there, I think someone would have saw him, and I feel like I would have ran into him for sure. But I haven't seen him, but I still hope. You know?
Yeah, no,
I still want it to be true.
That's exactly it. And some people, you know, some folks have stories, and you kind of know right away that, oh, these guys are just spinning a yarn, or they definitely saw a bear. But then
the bear will walk on his back feet too.
Right. And then you have other people where you hear it and you're like, you know what? That's actually a pretty compelling story. That actually kind of gave me goosebumps. You know,
Totally.
It's a little spooky. And I haven't, where I live, it's way back in the mountains. We are very deep in there and far from civilization. And again, I'm out in the woods all the time. And never once have I really had anything like spooky besides encounters with like actual wildlife.
Yeah.
But there was one time when there was a smell, very thick smell hanging in the air. And being, you know, a hunter and a taxidermist and dealing with trapping and all that, I'm familiar with like how skunks smell. And this sort of smelled like skunk, but skunks also kind of smell like garlic a little bit.
Yeah.
And this was a lot more pungent, and it had a deeper, I can't quite describe the smell, but it was way different. And the dogs were going nuts, like spinning in circles, like crawling under the table, you know, looking at all the windows. They knew something was up. Couldn't tell you where the smell was coming from. You know, it dissipated after a couple of minutes, but never smelt anything like that before. And supposedly Bigfoot has an odor that accompanies him.
A pungent aroma.
That's right.
I've been told. Yeah, 'cause like one of the nicknames is like skunk monkey, right?
That's right. Yeah, skunk ape. Yeah,
skunk ape.
So, but perhaps Bigfoot was just kind of casing the house, just checking things out. You never know.
He was like, "Hey, what's this guy up to?"
Yeah, what's going on in there?
Yeah, and you never know, right? Too, especially like you said, the mileage you put around your place, you know, hiking around and stuff. Like you maybe like your scent was getting out there, and he like got a little closer to see, like, hey, is this guy close into my territory or whatever it might be, you know?
That could have been. I wouldn't put myself back smelling like a skunk ape on the right day if you catch me before a shower. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a big Bigfoot culture out in Colorado.
Oh, really?
And a lot of people take it very seriously. People go on Bigfoot expeditions all the time. In fact, on Pikes Peak, on your way driving up Pikes Peak, America's Mountain, baby, they have a sign, a Bigfoot crossing sign, because due to all of the sightings in the area, they just warn people just in case.
Yeah, you might hitting something like that with your car.
Ooh, boy.
Like,
I hope you have insurance.
Yeah, exactly. Hitting a moose.
Yeah, it'd be like hitting a moose.
Good Lord. Yeah, the fact that you haven't seen it either, because you've seen mountain lions, which are super hard to see, you know, like, because they're so elusive in the woods. Yours were a little more aggressive, I'd say. But.
Yeah, well, and a lot of people, like out by us, folks go their entire lives and never see a mountain lion.
Mm-hmm.
That I've gotten pretty lucky. Of course, I kind of go looking for trouble.
Yeah.
But
that's what I'm saying too. Is you got an eye for it, you know, like, which, you know, kind of gives another nice segue to the things you brought here on the table.
Oh yeah. So this is this here. We have a very nice gray fox in its prime winter fur, just cased out, but just absolutely beautiful. And this is something that they use for garments. You know, if you think a lot of like bomber jackets for World War II, for example.
Oh yeah.
Predominantly, those were coyote fur. That was real coyote fur that lined the jacket and on the collar.
Oh, I never knew.
Because of just the heat retention that comes in these furs for these animals. And I mean, you turn this inside out and stick your arm in it, it'll get you warm quick. It's surprising because it's just so light. You wouldn't think it would be have such good heat retention.
And they were like, like some of the nicer jackets of the upper class, right, back in the day.
That's right. Yeah. Coyote, mink, sable, beaver as well, which is what we have down here. And, beaver by far was probably one of the most popular things to trap in North America.
Yes.
That's what the French trappers up in Canada. I mean, hats are all beaver fur. The jackets, that beaver was a hot commodity.
Yeah. When it was kind of cool. Jerry probably told you. Me and him went to the Mountain Man talk that Steve Ranella did, and and one of his other friends, and that was a super cool and informative talk because he was talking about the first rich person, first millionaire in the U.S. was a fur trapper, a beaver trapper.
Yep.
Because of like you said, the worth of it, like mostly for hats at the time, I guess.
Well, it has, and even still, like Stetson makes hats out of beaver. The expensive Stetsons are made out of beaver because it is water resistant.
Yeah.
And it is incredibly soft.
Oh, it's amazing.
It is incredibly soft.
That's a good sized fellow there. Where'd you get him?
This is a Illinois beaver, actually.
A little Midwest action.
That's right. This was skinned out in Jerry's garage.
Oh, really? Oh, that is cool, man.
Yeah, and the cool thing about beavers is, you have this really cool elliptical kind of oval shape, which almost doesn't seem natural. But it's like the way that their body is shaped, if you just cut one straight line from tail to their chin, that's just how their skin is. They're just naturally oval shaped.
It's awesome, man.
It's just, so there's nothing done to this. It's just one straight line.
Yeah. I was kind of wondering after I saw it. I was like, man, my dad was a trapper when I was like really little, and before I was born, it was kind of like how he helped pay for school and just support himself even in high school. Him and Jerry's dad were trapping back then. So I kind of been around it, but like I never like paused, and like we were talking with a bog, like you see something like almost with fresh eyes when you get older, and I'm looking at like the one, and then this is the one that was at Jerry's house.
Yes.
Yeah. So like when I walked in the door and I saw it, I'm like, I'd seen it before, and I was just looking at it, I was like, man, I realized how round that sucker is.
Yeah, and that just naturally lend themselves to being round.
Oh man, so yeah, such a cool animal. It's crazy. Like you hear the stories, and even when I was a kid, I remember like across from my great grandfather's river cabin, we go visit, and then we go walk the Interstate I-94, I think, or I-15 to the one that goes between Butte and Great Falls. And we'd hop over and then hop on the track, but there was always like a big beaver lodge there, like a good size one. And you never knew if there was actually one in there because it almost looked like old enough. And one day there was like a giant beaver that was tooling around near the tracks, or maybe it was on the island between the tracks and the Missouri. And it made it look like a bear. I was like, I couldn't believe how big it was.
When I was younger, I always, you see muskrats, and I always thought beavers were the size of muskrats because you rarely ever see them out of the water. So as a little kid, you just see a little head bopping around.
Yeah, once in a while, a tail slap.
That's right. Oh boy, that scares you in the middle of the night when you're fishing.
Yeah, dude.
And then you see one get out of the water, and it's like, that's the size of a dog. It's massive. And I believe that the largest beaver to date was 108 pounds.
That is huge.
That's a massive beaver.
I would hate to be in the water with that sucker.
Well, I was, when I was on Fox Lake, I was out in a kayak doing a little bit of fishing, and I got a little too close to a beaver lodge, and I was being swarmed by 7 of them. They were just swirling around me like sharks, and they'd swim up close to the kayak and slap their tails. And even though I didn't think that they would do anything, I didn't really wait around to find out, just because they were just so adamant about getting me out of there. I figured I ought to listen.
Absolutely, man. Because I was the same way, like young kids, you always kind of mess. And it's funny because you can see them getting agitated, and they are giving you little warning shots by slapping, like don't get any closer. But I always thought the same thing. I'm like, what's this guy gonna do? But turns out one of our friends who was floating the Jefferson, outside of Whitehall there, the Jefferson River. I think he just wasn't paying attention. They're floating, having a good time, and went to kick off the shore and was like kind of close to a beaver who was already getting mad at him. I think that's how the story goes. Because he got bit in the ankle or in the calf.
Ooh.
And maybe his leg was dangling off the tube because they were tubing. I don't remember exactly how it happened, but yeah, like they will get you, and it was like sizable chunks. I mean,
and
they chew on the trees.
Yeah, I was gonna say if they take down trees, I don't want them to go through my leg.
No, man, I always wanted to like watch one chew down trees. It's got to be super interesting,
Jerry and I were hiking around, and we found a spot where the beaver was kind of testing the different trees, and we actually found a couple of good limbs that would really make cool decorations, because there's just something wild about a half chewed limb from a beaver, and just the precision and the shape of it. I mean, really, it is kind of like a work of art in its own right by nature's very own architect. It's really cool. It's really cool to see. It just helps remind you that in this modern world, it's still really wild out there.
Yeah, like you said, just the visual of it, like it just makes at least most, I think, of us that are out in the woods a lot, or even if you never have, if you just like didn't know what the heck you were looking at, it'd make you pause. You're like, wow, look at that, dude. I can't believe that was an animal.
Yeah, what a weird thing to see.
Yeah. Like, hey, and you can't believe like the strength, like, dude, like cutting into, wood like that.
Well, I mean, I can tell you when it comes to swimming, to try to pull something behind you while you're swimming that has that much water, resistance. Dragging you back. Exactly. And then beavers just,
that's a good point.
In their mouth, just like nothing's happening.
Yeah, they're mixing up mud for like their, kind of masonry chinking, and slapping on their lodge and building it. Like it's really incredible.
Yeah. And ironically enough, that's how man builds cabins.
Yeah, totally.
Cutting down trees the same way, patching the holes with oakum and mud, and there it is.
Yeah, totally, man. Yeah, oakum is something that I just kind of started dabbling into because of some of the old cabins we have in the forest. We try to keep them period correct, and one of the ones we were talking about, I think it was Too Good, just this last week, we were trying to figure out, like, can we do more of a modern chinking? Like, how old is this cabin? Do we have to go back to oakum? And so I had to, like, do a little more research on that, because I just always called it all chinking,
Sure.
And it was kind of the same thing with cedar shakes or cedar shingles. I was always calling everything like cedar shakes, but there's a difference. And the cedar shakes are a little more rough, versus
really?
like a cedar shingles. Like a shingles, like more of a uniform shingle and a little bit better. So most of the stuff that you probably see out there is cedar shingle, but a older structure typically would have a cedar shake that does look a little bit more rustic because it's just not as perfect. Whereas a cedar shingle, you get those nice lines going up,
Sure, nice and uniform.
Yeah, exactly, man. A little bit of offsets, to keep the cracks, separated and covered. And so I was like, oh man, that's pretty cool.
That kind of makes me think about when you were talking about being out on fires and checking up on the old buildings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where we're at, where our house is located, we're kind of on the side of the mountain, but we're about the biggest high point for a ways, and we have a very good view that's a good 270. We're kind of backed up to a little mountain that kind of blocks a little bit, but there's been 2 occasions where I've spotted fire smoke before it was reported.
Oh yeah.
And I kind of like panic. I'm like, what do I do? Who do I call?
Yeah.
But every time that happens, I can't help but think about you and the Lookout podcast, because I almost feel like an honorary lookout seeing this smoke coming up.
Absolutely, dude. And that was kind of the essence of starting this thing, right? It wasn't like as like what do you call it? As black and white as like a lookout, like dubbed in like for the Forest Service. It was more like we all kind of participate in this like fire prevention and like lookouts in our lives, kind of there's like a few different layers to this sucker, and then also being just like a symbol of the outdoors, like you said, like you're not in a tower up at your house per se, but like you're still at this high point looking over the land, and also like being a steward yourself, and that was kind of the deeper meaning, I guess, for the naming of it.
I think that's I think it's important too, because I mean, the land is for everyone.
Yes,
it's for everyone to enjoy.
Yes.
And I do understand that a lot of wildfires happen naturally, especially in the West. Colorado's dry, Montana's dry, and wildfires just wreak havoc. In fact, the house that I'm living in right now was almost lost in 2005 to a wildfire.
Oh, really?
20 of our acres were charred, and now that's all just scrub brush.
Oh, really?
But you can see the burn scars. I mean, it's very real, very prevalent, and it's something that makes you think every day, just that it's a very real problem that you need to be careful for.
Yeah.
And shout out to the wildland firefighters and the smoke jumpers, because when we get a fire, I mean, you get people from Arizona, from Montana, from everywhere around.
California.
From California.
Nashville, North Carolina.
People coming in to help fight the good fight and put out fires, because it does take a village. You're not going to send in 2 guys on a little fire and hope for the best. It takes everyone, because as way better than most how fast that conditions can change.
Yeah, exactly.
Just a little shift of wind, and you guys are in trouble.
Totally, man. And then like resources that are threatened, and like the potential it has, right? Like what's it looking like? Where's our weather looking like? What's topography looking like? And the local weather factors. And then also like to shout out from everywhere. Like we're kind of picking across the nation, places like Medellin, hot shots out of Illinois. Like that's like you run into somebody like that, right? Like that's Region 9, and the regions are going away. It sounds like, but I haven't had the pleasure to fight fire in Region 9. So when you get someone like Medellin shows up on a fire, I'm always like, I gotta go pick one of these guys' brains. I want to talk to the Medellin hotshots and see what the day in the life is for them. And for folks who don't know, and kind of a shout out to Medellin here, is like they get to do some of the coolest assignments because they're the only hotshot crew, only Type 1 hotshot crew in Region 1. Type 1, hotshot and Type 1 is synonymous, like interchangeable names. But for folks who don't know, a Type 1 crew is hotshots. And so like Medellin gets to go up to like Minnesota and do like these cool canoeing prescribed fire activity, or even fire suppression sometimes if they need to go on an island and suppress a fire. But like some of the stuff that they get to canoe out to these islands that are on the preserve or wherever they might be and do the prescribed fire there. And it's like, man, not a lot of folks can do those cool things. And then they're on the grass range in Medellin itself, where I think there's bison and a bunch of other cool stuff that they get to like steward in their own backyard. It's very cool.
Well, like you had touched on before, that you guys are seeing country and land that a lot of people do not have the privilege to get to experience,
especially as a smoke jumper.
And I think that's a really cool thing. But
wild, man.
But boy, it is hard work because it's hot and you guys have to work hard and you have to work fast.
Yeah,
because if you don't, it's catastrophic.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And that's a good point that I don't think I've really touched too much on the podcast yet. It's like the heat, like, a lot of the fires we jump are, during the heat of the day, not all, but like quite a bit. Like you're always hoping for a morning, like, or an evening if they catch it. Cause the air quality or air density is better, right? Cause it's cooler. So you get more of the dense air, better, right? Especially when I was jumping rounds, or when we used to jump rounds as an agency, around parachute, just, you don't get as much air. You don't have as much, like the new ram air, you got a bigger foil and you have more forward speed and you can flare it. On the round, you're just kind of more at the mercy, and you're staring into a hole. So like, there's a fire I was on that was north of Avery, somewhere near Avery, Idaho. But it was a super hot day. It was like 2:00 in the afternoon in August, and I remember just thinking like, this one might hurt. And it actually wasn't that bad. Like I kind of caught like some diurnal winds, some up air, some heat or air that was getting heated in the valley and coming up. So I got a little bit of a up air, I guess, kind of not really up air, but a breeze going up.
Sure,
I guess,
sure. The updraft.
Yeah, kind of an updraft, but kind of not really, because it wasn't like enough to like push me back up in the air, but it was enough to like settle me down. So like I still came in pretty hot.
Sure.
Bag of meat. But
does anyone get caught in trees? That might be an ignorant question.
No, that's a good question, man. Yeah, definitely.
Because I figured where you guys are going, it's not like there's a clear aim for a clearing. You just got to kind of hope you find a little spot.
Yeah, totally, man. And yeah, it still happens all the time. And the ram air, not as much, because you have like a little more steerability, and it's not really designed to bag trees. Like the round part of the design was like to bag trees, like, because way back when, they didn't really look for jump spots. They just found the fire and were like, yep, send them. And they call them like in NCSB, they were still doing them when I was there. It's called roll your own. So it's like, don't have an identified jump spot. You just go. And like even when I was there, like, so that was like recent times. And it's like, man, to roll your own could be a little dicey, but
you guys are aerial cowboys.
Yeah, exactly. Just center.
Yeah.
Yeehaw. And so like sometimes, or if it is like really hot like that, or you're coming in super hot, like you're kind of praying to bag a tree, or you're aiming to bag a tree, because it's a lot nicer landing. And
sure.
And it's a lot easier with the round, because you're coming more of this like direct downward angle versus the ram where you're sailing in like a plane would. I mean, even the landing sequence on the ram air is the same as a plane. You have your oh man, I shouldn't even brought that up because I'm not going to mess it up. But like,
we'll just skip over that.
Yeah, like your what do they call it? Like something base and final. So you have like your approach, usually going like with the wind, and then you have your base, and then which is like perpendicular to the wind, and then you have your final, which is face into the wind. You always want to be landing into the wind. And I think whatever the first one, I might have messed up the base and final, like the last, and that's the same way an aircraft would do it too. Is like you have your approach, your base, and your final. So, you're flying more like that versus the round. You're just kind of like, you still want to go into the wind, but you're kind of more dancing around up top and coming straight down.
I had heard to slightly backtrack. I had heard about, I think it was in Idaho, I believe, where they were really hurting. Their beaver population was really hurting. And
I know exactly what you're talking about. Keep
that's
going,
right.
brother.
And they were trying to figure out a smart way to reintroduce beavers in these specific areas, because I believe that closer to town the beavers were wreaking havoc, but they didn't want people to kill the beavers, but they wanted to figure out some sustainable humanitarian way to remove the beavers. So I think they identified a spot that was really hurting as far as water goes, and they were trying to figure out how to get the beavers there. And they decided to take up some surplus World War II parachutes and kamikaze the beavers in.
Yep.
And it worked like a charm.
Yep, that really happened. Yeah, and totally. Yeah, they so the areas, I think it was in the Frank Church Wilderness, but yeah, I believe it was Idaho, and I think it was a wilderness area where there was like no feasible way to get them back in there, and they either got trapped out or something happened where the beaver wasn't on the landscape anymore. And as you know, the beaver is so important to the ecosystem.
It is crucial.
Yeah, crucial. Yeah. Not even important, right? Just like critical. You know, and so they're able to successfully parachute these beavers in, and I don't know if the box was designed to open up as they fell. Or...
So the way that the box was, to my understanding, it was held together by the pressure of the parachute. Oh. So as soon as the box hit the ground and the parachute was no longer keeping pressure on the edges of the box, it would just collapse.
Oh, wow.
And the beaver was able to scamper out and do his little beaver thing.
That's so cool. Just be a beaver.
And it was successful. And it was successful. I mean, what a wild idea.
Yeah.
Imagine sitting there in the boardroom
and trying to pitch it. Yeah. Like, how would your pitch go?
How would my pitch go? All right, guys, hear me out. All right, I made a contact, talking to one of my buddies who runs that Army surplus store. And I was thinking, instead of having to bushwhack our way in there with a rabid beaver on our backs, they don't get rabies, I don't think, with a crazy beaver on my back, how about we just airdrop them in, drop them right where we want them to go? The animal, it's mainly harmless, mainly painless. I think the animal would like it. Nice secluded area. Don't have to worry about getting shot at. I mean, it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, don't have to, try to put it on your back or on a mule or something.
Oh man, could you imagine that? Hauling beavers on the back of a mule? You'd probably have one on each side, that poor burro, and you just hear him chattering, getting angry, slapping in there. Yeah. Oh man, you still got 20 miles to go.
Yeah, and the mule just being like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just imagine the pitch might be a little tough, but maybe not. Maybe they're already kind of kicking some ideas around, and they're like, all right, hear me out. And hey, you guys might have to sleep on this for a minute, but I think this is the way we do it.
I mean, it's only a beaver, guys. Yeah, you can just try it.
Yeah, we'll get a couple more if it doesn't work out. Yeah, like you said, sure enough, it worked out, man, and it's been great. And we've actually seen a lot more beaver activity here in the Bitterroots too. Up to Good Cabin, which is in the Bitterroot Mountains, south by Sula. It's like, I think it's like 7 miles one way back to that cabin, and we do it all the time. Like me and my friend Brand, who's the rec guy there. Opening, closing, cleaning out the cabin, all the things that you have to do to maintain a cabin. And so the last few years been rolling in, and it's along the creek there, and I think it's Two Good Creek too. But this last year though, man, there's been a ton of beaver activity. Like lots of beaver ponds got built up on the creek, and it is so cool to see, man. Because like some of the horse folks don't like it because it makes the crossings a little more treacherous, and I get that part, man. It's a little tougher because like one of the crossings that used to be like ankle deep is now belly deep on a horse. So those folks aren't as happy with it, but man, it's like you see the fish coming in, you see like all the habitat like for plants and animals getting improved, and like the water isn't just rushing by, right? The water is staying there, which is probably helping the water table in that area.
Absolutely, because instead of it just running down the mountain, they're building these little dams and kind of retaining that water there, giving the plants a chance to grow up, and giving the wildlife a little place to catch a drink and cool off every once in a while instead of having to go all the way down, keep going down.
Yeah, totally.
And it just helps encourage, that proliferation, I guess, of animals and plants to just boom wherever beavers are.
Yeah, absolutely. You think it'd help out too, and the habitat is in the sense of like cooling a little bit too, right? You got these cooler, bigger pools of water versus like a stream that's just cruising by.
That's right. And Colorado, I believe, is just beginning an initiative. The Colorado Parks and Wildlife. I don't think that they're taking beavers off of the trapping list, but I think that they're trying to strongly discourage people from trapping them and hunting them, because they're looking to kind of do like what Idaho did, and they want to start reintroducing them in certain places to help with the management with those creeks and those streams, to make it a little bit wetter out there, because it is just so dry.
Yeah, dude. And you know how it is too in those dry areas. When you come off a nice like beaver ponded pool, you're like, this is nice. Even if you're not jumping in, you're just like,
it's an oasis.
It is, man. You feel a little bit of that cool air coming off it, and you're like, yeah, it's nice to see.
You see the trout jumping and the wildflowers blooming all around it. I mean, every animal has its place in the food chain, and it has its job to do in nature, and beaver does its really well.
It does, man. Yeah, think about how many, like you said, just the handful of things you mentioned, and it goes, vastly beyond what we've talked about. But like you said, the fish, the deer, the elk, the moose, especially moose, right? Moose is more of a wetland animal,
That's right. And we're starting to get moose moving down into southern Colorado, which historically they have not been. Yeah. In fact, moose are not native to Colorado.
Oh, I didn't know.
They were, I believe that it was 1977, I believe, that moose were reintroduced into Colorado, and they've really enjoyed it, and their numbers are really starting to explode.
That's great.
Which is a great thing, and they're seeing them down by us, seeing moose, which is really a rare spectacle.
Yeah.
A rare spectacle. They're getting them down in New Mexico.
Really? Yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah, what a cool species, and man, and also like one of the most tasty animals out there.
They're a cool species as long as you don't run into them out on the trail, because I think I'd rather run into a mama bear, I'd rather run into a mountain lion than a moose.
Yeah, and there's so many like layers of that, like not wanting to run into a moose. There was a time when I had a little WRX and I was jumping on West Yellowstone, and I can't remember if I was coming back from Missoula or coming back from Whitehall to get to the jump base, and it was kind of late, so it was dark, and I was coming past Quake Lake, and there's a little bit of a climb of a hill, and it just looked like everything that was dark in front of me, like the night, moved a little bit. So I'm like, and it was a manual transmission, so I just like put it in neutral and pull my foot off the gas, and I just kind of start puttering up, and I'm like, all of a sudden I'm about under this huge moose. I'm like, oh my God. Like I knew there was something weird about that, but they're so dark, so no moonlit night, I'm like, and it's like so dark that it was just almost absorbing my headlights. So I was like, what in the, like I could start making something up. I was like, what is that? And all of a sudden this giant moose just like didn't even really look at me until I about stopped next to him, and they kind of like paid attention to me, like I was bothering him, like kind of like one-eyed me, and then just kept cruising.
Well, he's the biggest, baddest thing in the woods,
and that's what he knew. He knew.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
If we tangled, he was gonna kill my car and possibly me, and then just walk off. I
have heard many horror stories of people being treed by moose and up there for hours, and they think the coast is clear. They shimmy on down, make it about 10 or 20 feet, and the moose was just laying down waiting for him to come back.
He's like, man, I knew you were coming out here.
Yep, chased him right back up the tree. Yeah, moose are mean. They are mean. And
they're always bigger than you remember, right? You come rolling up on one, you're like, holy cow, you are just massive, like so tall. Like such long legs,
The first time that I ever got close to an elk, I felt that same kind of awe in their size. Yeah. You see them alongside the road, oh, cool. But when you're actually up next to this animal, especially if you catch one where it's standing up, getting in close to you, I mean, it's like 6 foot at the shoulder. It's massive.
So
it's just
big,
absolutely massive.
Yeah, especially if you're lucky to see like one of those really big, like 8 point on one side, like a 7x7, 8x8, kind of like big with the big whale tail and the giant brow tines. You're like that. That rack is going from forehead to tail.
That herd
so
bull
huge.
that has 5 feet of bone knives on top of its head.
Exactly.
And he is big and he is mean.
Yeah, exactly, man.
And you hear his bugle or his chortle, and you feel it in your chest, and it's like, oh, I am in danger.
Yeah, that's another thing that's so cool, man, about living out west is like that. Because I don't even think about it. It's not really on my brain. Like hunting season's coming up. I'm thinking about that, right? But then like hiking up to Medicine Point Lookout to close it this year, we're just like cruising along, and all of a sudden this scream comes out of the bottom of the canyon, and you're just like, oh yeah, it sounds so cool.
That's one of my all-time favorite things. My birthday's in September, and usually it's right around when the rut's kicking off, and you just hearing those screams echoing through the mountains. Oh man, It just gives you goosebumps. Again, I'm a sucker for being in the wild, in the wilderness, and it's super easy to forget. We have phones and computers and TVs and cars, and it's super easy to feel removed. But you're rolling down an old country road with your window down, and you start hearing those screams coming from the woods. It just brings you right back. It's like primal feeling almost.
It is, man. You get this excitement that like you're not really thinking about it. And you're like, oh man, that's an elk right there.
That's right. And I think, like you said, you kind of take it for granted a little bit. You get used to seeing them, but you know what? Every time they're still a spectacle.
Yeah.
I always slow the car down, have to roll down the window, take a picture. Just sit and watch them for a little bit.
Yeah.
It's just amazing that this massive animal is just wild, living right next door.
Yeah, totally, man. Yeah, I'm with you. And even like I saw, which is wild too, is 3 mule deer bucks this last week at work. I was coming back and from the field, and they just crossed in front of me. I had to stop. I almost stopped anyways because I was waiting for the last one to go by. So I snapped a photo, and I was like, man, this is super cool. I just got to see 2 or 3 really nice bucks. One that was like really, really nice bull or buck, mule deer buck. And then as I'm cruising down, then like not long after that, and most folks know this who live in the area, like up the East Fork, there's a lot of rams, a lot of sheep up there. And also this like giant ram is just like hanging out in the middle of the road and like, full curl, just looking awesome. And then like a bunch of other sheep come cruising in, and it's just like, man, this is awesome. That's
one of my favorite things about Colorado is that you're, go for a nice little scenic drive in the mountains, and then here's this herd of sheep just standing right there. I had taken the train ride through the Royal Gorge out of Canyon City in Colorado, and that's lovely. On the Arkansas River. A lot of gold comes out of the Arkansas River. But the train tracks run down through the bottom of the gorge, the canyon. So it's just beautiful red rock going all the way up. And they have a goat herd that lives in there, or a sheep herd rather, of the bighorn rams. And right around that time was like their rut or their mating season, because you hear the crack of their skulls echoing through, and it sounds like a gunshot.
It's so loud. It's like incredibly loud. Like a video doesn't do it justice.
It is crazy to hear in person, the way the sound reverberates. It's unreal.
It is, dude.
It's unreal. And you just, kind of smile and shrug your shoulders. It's like, this is nature, man.
Yeah.
This is nature.
Like that sound, the bugle. I mean, there's like so many of those sounds like in nature, like you said, even like the beaver tail slap. It's like you forget, and you're like, oh yeah, that's cool.
I would classify a loon call in that.
Yes.
The North Woods, like right as sun's going down or early morning before the sun comes up, and you hear that lonely loon call across the lake. Oh, brother.
Dude, that is, yeah, man, that's top sound, that nature sound for me too, man. Like because it's rare. We don't get them as much out here.
No, I don't. That's a lot of things that I miss about the Midwest that Colorado doesn't have, and that's one of them is the loons.
We got a few up here, man. Like last time I was at Holter, we saw a couple hanging out. They're not like you don't see like a flock of loons.
No, I think they travel in monogamous pairs, I believe.
Yeah, I think you're right. And like, so we actually saw a couple, like 2, like a pair, like one pair, and then another pair that wasn't like too far off. They weren't like hanging out too much. It was just kind of they were sharing the area. But it was like super cool to see that many. And that's like awesome. But then I'm also like, come on, buddy. Like I'm here to hear you make a noise.
When I was up in Minocqua out on a kayak, and the loons were prolific up there, and you'd see them, they'd go swimming under the boat, and they're just so aerodynamic and neat to watch fly through the water.
Yeah, man.
It's just, such a cool nature design with their red eyes and little babies that are right on their back.
Yeah.
I mean, just such a unique, cool animal.
It is, man. That's such a cool animal. Like you said, the red eyes, and they're so vibrant. Like you can see it from quite a ways away. I mean, that's one of the easiest ways to identify a loon if you don't really know, if you're kind of confused, like, is it a duck? Like, that red eye, like, is a giveaway,
Oh, yeah. It's super cool. It's super cool until you're fishing and you're not catching anything and you see them pulling them up left and right. And then
it's like they're rubbing it in.
Yeah, that's exactly. Add an insult to injury.
Yeah, like you son of a gun. A duck that I just kind of came to my radar, because I think I'd seen it before, but I thought it was Its coloring is almost enough to confuse a person for a wood duck, or at least maybe me, but it's called a harlequin duck.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And I don't even think the coloring's that similar, probably, if I'm thinking about it, but it's just like vibrant enough to where, like, if you didn't know it, you'd be like, I mean, is that a wood duck? Like, if your recall wasn't like super good on a wood duck, you'd be like, maybe that is. Because wood duck, you know, is beautiful too, right?
Oh, yeah. They are gorgeous.
Yeah, like a harlequin is like a really beautiful duck. And we were doing some eDNA studies here in the Bitterroot. I talked to one of my friends who I had on the podcast. She's a fisheries biologist, and she was telling me and kind of explaining more about that. So folks want to tune in, they can check that out. Mariel Leslie, fisheries biologist for the Bitterroot National Forest.
Ooh, I'd like to pick her brain.
Yeah, man, like wealth of knowledge, man, and she's out there like getting it too, and like doing a lot of really cool stuff for our fisheries and our just waterways, I guess. But she was helping out with those eDNA studies, and she was telling me that the equipment they use is so sensitive that like they can tell if there's like a mating pair in that waterway, because this is like the mating area, so they don't spend a lot of time here. They just like come here, mate, and then I think move on.
Harlequin ducks.
The harlequin, yeah. So and then I got to reading up on it, and one of the recent sightings was at Lake McDonald Glacier National Park, in one of the tributaries. So they're not like on the lake really as much as like in the feeder streams, I was like, man, that's super cool. Like, it is such a beautiful duck. So now I'm always, because we got the Lee Metcalf right down the road here, the refuge, and we get a lot of birds here. I was gonna say waterfowl. We get a lot of waterfowl here, and I mean, we got some cool swans and like a lot of cool looking ducks that have showed up. Tons of buffleheads and mallards. So I'm always like looking for like maybe a rogue harlequin might show up.
Well, there's crazier things have happened. A lot of folks talk about weird birds, like tropical birds, that show up where it's way out of their normal migration path, but yet here they are.
You're like, what are you doing?
Yeah, exactly. I saw a pelican in the middle of Colorado, just floating around on the water, just one lone pelican.
Just chilling.
And talk about a weird juxtaposition. You think Florida, like boardwalk or something like that when it comes to pelicans, but yet here one is surrounded by mountains.
Dude, it's nuts. I'm trying to think if I've seen them on the Bitterroots, but in Missouri we get a ton of pelicans. It's super weird. Yeah, I don't know why, but that's what I was gonna say. You should have taken him out maybe, because he's gonna tell his friends and he's gonna come back.
Yeah, that's right.
But the reason why I say that too is because my great grandfather had a place on the Missouri. That was kind of his story. Was that like, one day he saw this pelican. He's like, what the fuck? What are you doing here? And then he said, the next thing you know, there's tons of pelicans, and kind of similar story to like we were talking about the loons. He'd be fishing off his deck, and there'd be like nothing biting, and like a damn pelican come scoop a trout right in front of his line. He's like, you son of a. So that kind of built the old hatred for the pelican from my great grandpa.
No, yeah, I feel that.
Oh yeah, I totally understand, man. You're out there just like working it, for a while, and this pelican just kind of cruises above, spots something that might be getting close to your line, scoops it up. Like, you set up again.
But you know what? At the end of the day, that's what they're built to do.
Yeah, and it's still kind of cool looking.
Yeah, I can be a little envious. I can be a little jealous.
That's more and more it comes from me.
Yeah,
just envy.
Yeah, exactly. But I respect it.
Yeah,
I respect it. I mean, maybe you could tell me where the fish are.
Yeah, like, hey man, help me out here.
Yeah,
pick one up for me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's kind of wild too. Like, you're talking about just like species kind of being where they're not supposed to be. Like, one morning we woke up at the house here, and Autumn looks out and she's like, that's the funniest looking deer I've ever seen in my life. Like, we're not really awake yet. Like, it's pretty early in the morning. Sun just coming up in the summer, or late spring. And I'm like, And I'm like, we get tons of deer around here. I'm like, not thinking anything of it. And I just like sit up. And I'm like looking out the window. I'm like, that's not a deer. And she's like, what is it? I'm like, that's a damn antelope. But he was hanging out with all the deer. It was like, I'm like, how did you think you're a deer? Is that what's going on here?
I'm glad you brought that up. So my very short time in the valley so far, the whitetail are prolific. That I've seen. The elk are prolific. I in my head had more mule deer and pronghorn. And
country, right?
That's what I was thinking. Back in Colorado, it is like the other way around. We don't have a lot of whitetail, but the mule deer are prolific. They are everywhere. And same thing with the antelope. In fact, I just took my my first antelope last year.
Oh yeah, you got a nice one here.
Yeah, it was not bad. It was a super cool experience. The interesting thing about antelope is they do smell, but they smell like Fritos.
Oh yeah.
Like kind of like Fritos, or maybe like
a corn chip.
yeah, like the corn chip. Yeah. And it's interesting, and their fur is like bristles.
Oh yeah.
It's like it's like almost an inch and a half or so, but it stands on end.
Yeah.
That was the first time that I'd ever dealt with the pronghorn, like for mounting. That really caught me off guard. Because I don't know what I imagined their fur to be like, but it was not like that.
Totally, man. Yeah, not just saying something. It's been a while since I handled one, and smelled one too. I remember them having a smell, but I don't remember like putting a finger on what it was.
Yeah, kind of like Fritos. And
yeah,
it's cool. Antelope is the only antelope species, or the pronghorn rather, is the only antelope species in in North America actually. And it kind of begs the question, how did they get here?
Yeah.
What are they doing here? There was, I think, at one point a North American cheetah.
I was just gonna say that, yes.
And that's kind of cool to think about. Cheetah chasing an antelope across the Great Plains.
Yeah, I'd love to see it, man. And it was a big cheetah too, right? It was like way bigger than the African.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I would love to see that, man.
And for them being the fastest land animal, which is, or the fastest land animal in North America, rather, the pronghorn, when you watch them take off, it is, I mean, it's like mind numbing.
It is.
When they really hit the gas on that, you think you're getting close to them, and 1 second they are gone, a mile away.
Oh, it's crazy. And it looks effortless too,
Oh, absolutely.
Especially once they get up to kind of like their cruising speed. It looks like it's nothing.
And their eyesight is phenomenal. They have, it would be like us having ×8 zoom. Pronghorn's eyesight is so good that they can see the rings of Saturn on, at like a clear night. They'd be able to see the rings of Saturn.
No.
With their naked eyes.
Are you messing with me? You pulling my leg?
No, I'm being honest with you. That is how good that their eyesight is.
Man, wild.
Now, granted, I don't know how they got that information. I don't know what Pronghorn said. Oh yeah, Saturn's right up there.
Yeah,
I don't even know if they can look up. But
yeah.
But if they did, they could see. They could be pretty good astronomers.
Go out in the field. They're all laying on their backs, looking at stuff.
Yeah, contemplating life.
Yeah, exactly. Looking at some rings.
Yeah.
Man, yeah, that's wild. Yeah, I mean, like all that stuff, right? Like how they know what dogs can see, like colorblind, or what colors they can see or can't see, and all that stuff. Like, I mean, way beyond my IQ, I guess, or my education.
Well, like they talk about with deer or ungulates, how, and maybe it's legitimate, maybe it's like big forestry, wildlife protection, where they talk about that they can't see orange.
Yeah.
I don't know if they can or not, but they say that blue, like the color blue, is like super neon, like highlighted to them. But the orange doesn't really stand out.
Yeah.
I don't know how they have that information.
I don't either, because I want to say like an old boy told me that when I was young, and I was like, come on.
Yeah, he kind of, I still want to wear camouflage.
Yeah.
I don't know if the orange is really going to make a difference, but.
Totally. Well, that was what he was telling me, was that like he would wear camo under his blaze, because I think as a young kid, I was kind of teasing him. I'm like,
you want to be seen or not seen?
Yeah, like, yeah, man, you kind of go in two different ways here. Like a bit of a what do you call it? Like a contradiction.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And I think that's what he was saying. He's like, well, the deer can't see this, so still camouflage to them. And I was like, You still think there'd probably be an outline of where the camo isn't visible?
I would think so, and that's big. With you look at the styles of camo nowadays, it's all about breaking up your silhouette.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's as obviously they still focus on like the drab green and the browns and the blacks, like the natural tones.
Yeah.
But a lot of the new designs, it doesn't look like the camouflage that we grew up with it, like the bottomland timber and like the classic breakups, even like the Vietnam stripes.
Yeah.
It's more like digital looking, because it's all about breaking up your silhouette.
Yeah, the outline. Yeah, the old because you remember the real tree was the one that like came to my brain, and it was like that might have been like some of the first camo I had, and it was like an actual like leaf and a stick and stuff around there, and I thought it was cool. And It worked pretty good because I'd wear it for Boy Scouts. We had this game called Manhunt, which was like tag, usually more at night, and it was by teams. You know, like you had a team that would hide and a team that would find you, and then you would typically how the game would go. You'd be picking off the opponent one by one, and they'd have like a I can't remember exactly what we call it, but it was like a prison that you'd hold them in, and then you had like some of your teammate holding the other team in there
for the POWs.
It was like a POW, yeah, a little concentration camp. And then, but you could tag out your folks. But if you got tagged, then you're in prison as well. And that was the game. So like I was so pumped when I got this Realtree camo as a kid, and I think it was handed down from my older bro. And I remember like putting the test, you know, and it was like in Boy Scout camp in Illinois. I think it's Solar Crown, and the leaves had just fallen, so it was like pretty good for the design I had. And I remember kind of like I was in what felt pretty exposed spot, so I was like, "We'll see," you know. I just like kind of laid on my face, and so they like my face wouldn't like shine, you know, and they cruised by, and I could out of the corner of my eye, you know, like I had my eyes open, but I could see like, you know, the corners, and I was like out of my periphery, and I could see like scanning around, and maybe they're just like going too fast to see that I was there, but I was like kind of in the sticks and in the leaves, and it was enough to blend in. So I was like, after that, I was like, man, camo's the best.
Well, I had always heard that the best camo, and I think it was Fred Bear that said this, the best camo is sitting down and being quiet, just being still. Because you think about the old depictions of, you know, how your granddad used to hunt, and he's out there in a wool red jacket with his blue jeans, with a pipe or a cigar hanging out of his mouth, and always successful.
Yep.
Always successful. But now there's decenter, and you got your all these different patterns of camouflage. And well, if you're not seeing the animals, maybe you don't have the
right cryptech.
That's right.
Like
yeah.
that,
maybe
right?
you don't have the scent lock on. Maybe they're whipping you. And you know, Granddad used to walk through here smoking tobacco out of a pipe, and successful every time.
Yeah, totally, man. And like, I think I read that quote similar to something like, like patience and being still, you know, or something like that is what he's saying, you know, like, which is right. It also makes me a little mad though if I think about like old Granddad, you know, like you said, hiking around in like a wool, you know, button down that's like you said red and stuff, and like damn it, they had more animals back then. So that's what I tell myself.
That's what I'm saying.
Like they had more animals back then.
That's right.
But yeah, I mean, it's crazy the technology though, like the cryptech stuff. That's like, is that stuff that's supposed to like kind of break up your like energy field or something?
That's what I've heard. Yeah, that it's supposed to contain your energy field. And for a while, I was thinking maybe that's just smoke and mirrors. You know,
that was my initial thought.
But I think, you know, have you ever been out in the woods and you kind of get that feeling where you're like, something's close.
Something's watching.
You know, I can't quite put a finger on it, but something's close. You kind of do a scan, you don't see anything. You're like, well, I don't know, but I felt it. You know, you walk a little bit and you hear brush snap or a branch snap behind you. Turn around, there's a mountain lion. Yeah. It's like, wow, well, I felt you before I saw you, and you got those old caveman instincts. Yeah. You know, that are still trying to protect you.
Yeah, there could be something to it, man. Well, you feel people's energy in the room too. If like someone's like keyed up.
Oh
you
yeah,
feel
that's
you know?
true. Or someone's negative. You know, as soon as they walk in a room, you just kind of want to disperse. You don't want to be around it.
You're like, oh, this ain't good. Yeah, totally. And then especially the people who are like chronically like negative humans. You know, you're like not somebody people want to be around. But then you get the opposite, right? Someone who's like really happy-go-lucky, positive. You know, always bringing the good energy. You're like, yeah, man, let's hang out with that person more.
That's right.
Yeah, that's what I strive to be. I mean, try to be more that type of person. You know,
well, negative repels, positive attracts.
Yeah, hey man, even the magnets. Yeah,
that's right.
That's a good point, dude. Right. Yeah, basics. You know, like kind of the basic cloth of everything, right? You know, the makeup of humans in the universe, right? And it's always true. Because I know I'd rather be around positive folks like yourself. We're getting after it and trying to make something out of this short life we have.
I think people get stuck in the rat race, and they forget that like life is made to be lived.
Yes.
It is super easy to get distracted and kind of get that tunnel vision, thinking about, all right, I'm just going to make it till Friday. And that's every week, you know, just got to make it till Friday, and next week will be easier. And it never gets easier.
No.
And before you know it, you know, you blink and you're at the tail end of your life, and life's about the journey, not the destination.
100%.
Because before you know it, you could get hit by a car, and that's that. You know, it could get freak thing happens and
The ride's over.
the ride's over.
Yeah, man. Totally. Yeah, not taking life for granted, man. I think that's like those little moments that we're talking, like the elk bugle makes you pause, a loon call, like those things are super important to. And I feel like super important to adhere to, I guess, to heed the call, right? Is the word I was looking for there. But also, like, it's, for folks listening, and even myself, it's like saying these out loud. Around myself, like, that's like the universe being like, pause, hey, take a look around,
And we had talked earlier about, moving to town, not being out in the mountains. And I don't know if I could do it, man. I'm a mountain man, and that's what I love. I love being outside and hearing the birds and hearing the animals and seeing the mountains, seeing the clouds roll. I mean, really, it is all the small things that add up to the sum of the whole.
Yes.
Gosh, I mean, you just can't replicate it. The nice, warm, sweet vanilla smell of the ponderosas in the summer. Oh man,
dude, yeah, and the cottonwoods in the fall.
Oh yeah,
yeah, man. And that was well put, man. Exactly. That's why we live where we are. We got we're kind of in the middle-ish. We're like it's more towards one side of two mountain ranges, and like I said, watching the weather patterns, watch the sun go up, watch the sun go down over the Bitterroots, and all the little things in between. Like it's it's incredible. And we're always keeping an eye out for the elk herd that kind of floats through here, so we're watching for that. And then there's any other wildlife that might be kind of cruising around, and we get owls and bats and everything else, so it's super cool.
I really enjoy being able to walk out the front door, and I know you know what I'm talking about. It doesn't matter if you wake up on the wrong side of the bed and you spilled your coffee on your lap and your dog ran off, but you walk out that front door and you see a hawk riding a breeze, and you see the sun hitting those mountains as it's coming over the horizon. It just puts everything into perspective. You just take a deep breath and say, you know what? Ain't life grand?
Yeah,
aren't we lucky to be able to live in a place that we can enjoy this?
Yes, sir, dude. Rights the ship, right? Like, if you're off to a bad start, it's like, oh, yeah.
We had touched on, like, that sun coming over the horizon. They have a mountain range down by me. They call it the Sangre de Cristos, which translates to the blood of Christ.
Oh.
And that's because at the right time of year, when the sun comes over the horizon and it hits those mountains shine red.
Whoa.
Yeah, in the mornings.
Dude.
And it is a really cool thing to see. It is a really cool thing to see.
Yeah, man. Seems like a fitting name too, like the red and the, little shows you the power of nature,
Yeah, well, and it has to go with the Spaniards and their Catholicism, just trying to make sense of things. But boy, I think it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's special, man. And like you said, it's not just in the West, it's kind of everywhere. You get out in nature. I was talking to one of our friends who's from Arkansas, and he was talking about this river, I believe it's a river, some kind of water source that runs through the Ozarks in northern Arkansas. And he's talking about, like, the minerals in the river give it this turquoise, sometimes almost a gold shimmer. And I've seen it with my own eyes, and it's like, yeah. And he's joking. He's like, yeah, basically, if you're going to Arkansas, check that out and leave. There's nothing really else there for you.
Well, Arkansas has the I think it's a state park where you can mine your own diamonds.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I think they just call it Diamond Park.
Oh, cool.
But it's like this huge field. I think it's a couple of acres, and I think once a week or something that they'll go through and they'll till it again. But you can just go digging through there and pull out diamonds. And I think a kid found a pretty good
sizable.
Yeah, pretty good.
Imagine how impressive you would be to your wife. You come home and be like, babe, I got the rock for the ring.
Well,
it took me a week.
Actually, that was, and I've told her that is my goal, is that I would like to pan the gold to smelt down into the ring band, yes. And I would like to find the diamonds. Or I would settle for another precious gem. They have west of me on Wolf Creek Pass, over kind of by Pagosa Springs, in the Rio Grande Mountains, or in San Juan's, around there, big for emeralds and rubies.
Oh, very cool.
And so, if I ever found an emerald and a ruby, I'm not going to not put that on a ring.
Yeah, man.
That's one of when you start getting older and you really start getting an appreciation for rocks and minerals.
Yeah, man. No, I'm in it, dude. Like, Yeah, me and the wife went and just poked around Ruby Reservoir, not too far from here, and there's most nothing like sizable or nothing like that would be worth putting in the set or selling, but it was still cool. Like we sifted through and got like this little jar full of like garnet and rubies, and then my like kind of tradition to get her and added it to her wedding or ring.
Her band, yeah.
Her band, yeah. It was Yogo Sapphire. Yogo Sapphires only exist in Montana in one spot, over by Lewistown, and super rare. So it's like,
I'll have to add that to my bucket list.
Dude, man, and there's not you don't do anything to it. It comes out of the ground just like that, man. Isn't
that
beautiful.
Isn't that phenomenal?
Yeah, dude,
isn't that just
so
phenomenal?
Gorgeous, man. It's my personal favorite rock. I know it's my wife's personal favorite, and it just adds to her set, man. It's so cool, like what the Yogo brings to that, and what a Yogo just brings by itself, man. Like traditionally I get her a Yogo every year, that we've been together. So she got like a lot of money.
She got a lot.
yeah. And it's super cool, man. My vision is like one day, like when we're gone, is that like our kiddo like gets all those and turns into like a necklace or a band or something, like.
I think heirlooms like that, they stick around in the family.
Yeah, I think so too, man. I mean, it's so many stuff that's been like passed down, so it's important.
I look at like my stuff, and now being a new father myself, it kind of puts a lot of things into perspective.
Yes.
And you kind of operate a little differently, because not only you're not just out for yourself anymore. You got to think about your child. You got to think about the legacy, what they stand to grow into, and everything that comes along with that. And I look at all my bones and mounted animals and little trinkets and old locks and like an old cowbell that I found on the property. And
That's cool.
One day, son, this will all be yours.
Totally, man. But they all got a story. That's the big thing.
That's right.
And that's what I'm all about too, man. It's like all these things, like all of my fire memorabilia. I got patches from folks or crews I was on, and T-shirts and all the things, right? Like it's like, man. Even like an old worn out fire shelter that is garbage. It's like this could be yours.
I've seen a few like fire lookouts out in Colorado, and actually the highest fire lookout in the lower United States is in Colorado. I think it's the Memahaw. I think that's how
really?
You pronounce it.
Yeah.
In Gunnison County.
Oh, very cool.
But that's the highest.
What elevation do you know off the top of your head?
13 something.
It's
up there. Yeah, that's pretty high. The air's pretty thin up there. You are above the tree line for sure.
I gotta say, man. Oh, dude, I haven't like summited like a good peak in a while, but I remember the first time I did like Manhead is right outside of Whitehall. And it's kind of cool. It looks like a person looking up at the sky. Like if you see it right, like, and looks like the year round. Kind of looks more like that when it snows.
Yeah.
Which is very cool. But I want to say, dude, I got like. I was in really good shape at the time, but I would say like around 7,000, 8,000 feet, I could start feeling the thin. And then especially around like 9,000, 10,000, because I think it's right about 10,000 feet, somewhere in that ballpark. It was like super thin. So 13,000.
Yeah, you're up there.
Yeah,
you're
man.
up there. Good luck getting a fire started.
Oh my, yeah, I didn't even think about that. Keep yourself warm in the old stove.
That's right.
That's gonna be a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah, and especially when the snow rolls in.
Yeah, probably early.
Well, Colorado has those freak snowstorms. You can get snow in August or June if you're in the right spot.
Oh yeah, kind of same here too, man. The high country.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we got St. Mary's Peak right out here. That I can't think of the elevation off the top of my head, but it's one of the big indicators because usually a cloud will get stuck on there, scrub off some snow on the way by. Pretty early on sometimes, like you said, end of August or something.
What would you say out of all of your travels, which lookout has been really the most notable or remarkable for you?
That one's kind of hard because
I know you've been to a lot of them. You've been to most of them.
I've been to a ton. Yeah, I actually it's like pretty small factor. I think if I like add them up compared to where they all like one of my friends, Luke Channer. Shout out to him. He's an awesome dude. I think he's been to every existing and possibly like known site. Like I think he's got them all covered. This dude's an animal.
Now that, I think, is a lot cooler than going to every NFL stadium or every MLB stadium. A lot of people do that.
Yeah.
You know, no shade, but
Yeah.
to something like that, that is truly remarkable.
Totally.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah, some it's like some bushwhack and stuff, you know,
Yeah,
get to 'em and-
for a lot of them.
Yeah, and then to find just like something, you know, that's there, you know, whether it's like a nail in a tree or whatever, it might be like remnants, you know, some remnant of what it was there. But yeah, like to your question, man, one that I visit personally, I mean, Medicine Point would probably have to be the one because it's the first one I ever stayed in and is where I proposed. So
there's a lot of sentimental value that goes into that.
And then the view there is incredible. Because the story goes, when I was going to propose, I had one already in mind, and I think it was called Cougar Peak, and it's up by Thompson Falls, not too far from Wild Horse Plains. So Plains, Montana, full name Wild Horse Plains. Right along the Clark Fork River, like just above. So it's this really cool spot, and this damn fire comes up. I already had it rented out. I had bought and rented for the evening and ready, and you could drive right to it, and which was key because my wife was pregnant at the time. So I was like, well, let's make it easy, a cool spot that we'll both remember, and we'll drive to it. And then this fire comes up, and then they close it, and they have to wrap it so that it doesn't get burned down. Thank God they wrapped it. Thank you, fire crew. But then I'm like, oh shit, like plan B,
pivot.
Yeah, pivot. And luckily, there's some really great folks on this forest, and so I was talking to folks, and like one of the ideas was like, they're gonna close down one of the lookouts. Deer Mountain was, I'll just say Deer Mountain was one of the ones that was being talked about, like the season was over for the lookout. It's an active lookout, and my friend who staffs it right now is incredible. But they were about to leave for the season. There was some time before they got up there to close it, so I was going to be able to at least go up there, maybe just for the evening, and like propose inside, like, hey, I want to take this cool lookout. So that was kind of one of the ideas getting kicked around, and then talking to a few folks, though, like one of my really good friends, Justin Abbey, who's been on the podcast. He's kind of a legend in the Bitterroot. He fought fire for a long time. Was like in the heat of battle during the fires of 2000, which was like an epic fire year for here. Like just insane electrical storm that came through the valley. Like everything started to fire. One of my other friends was in a tower where this, like what I believe is St. Elmo's fire was floating through, like a bunch of balls. Ooh. Because of the amount of electricity. Yeah. Like just floating in between him and a few of the other fire crew folks. Just wild. He said it was crazy. You could feel like the electricity in the air. But side note to my story, Justin's like, yeah, you got to go to Medicine Point. And then a few other people like, Medicine Point, man, if you can get in there, like that's the spot. And it is, man, it's like top of the world. So I talk with rec staff. There's like some of these like days that are closed. But if you talk to the district, sometimes like it's closed on rec.gov, but you can rent it through the district. So I was able to do that. And before, it closed, it was on its last few days. So my badass wife, who is preggers, hikes, I think it's like about 4 miles one way with all the switchbacks and everything, and to top of the world on top of this mountain. And but it was also good because it worked out all right because I got up there, kind of got settled in. She's catching her breath, checking out the Alidade, and that's when I was able to get on one knee and pop the question. And the view is so incredible and so insane. You could see Trapper Peak from there really well, and the Bitterroots are just like in your face, and the sapphires are like right there too. And so she was distracted by the view, but also long enough to where my knee was about to give out. Like I was on one knee for what felt like for an eternity, and then the sun's going down, so I'm like trying to hold the ring with the sunset. I was like,
well, I guess since we're talking about that, when I proposed, I was told no.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, well,
who could say no to your face?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Oh, man.
So I had set up, and again, like you, I had an original plan, but we had to pivot. So then I figured, you know what, I'm going to do it at the base of Seven Falls. So it's like this waterfall that cascades and makes 7 little individual waterfalls. Really, really beautiful.
I'm already ready to say yes.
One thing that I didn't do my research on was I didn't realize how far of a walk it was.
Oh, you tried to kill her going in.
Unfortunately. And, I told her that we were going to be going to a nice dinner, but I just wanted to go check this place out. And so she's dressed up and I'm dressed up. and then we had to hike like uphill, almost 2 miles. And at the end of it, she's in heels and she's just hating me. And I'm walking around trying to find like the right spot where I think would be, and she's over it. Can we just go? Can we just go? Can we well, I just want to ask you, just over here. Maybe we get a picture. I just want to ask you a question, And when I proposed to her, I think it caught her off guard, and out of shock, she's like, "No."
Yes.
And I'm just like, "No?" And she's like, "Well, yes, but no." She just couldn't believe that it was happening.
Yeah.
And she did come around. She did say yes. So, unfortunately for Sydney Sweeney and Anne Hathaway, I am off the market. But
well, they can still dream.
They can still dream.
Yeah, someday.
but
in another life.
Besides that hike in, it was a good spot. It was a good spot. Maybe not as picturesque as Medicine Point, because that sounds beautiful.
7 waterfalls, and the trick is really, you get them tired, and they can't really think about it too much. They just want to they want it to be over, right? So it's like, yeah, sure,
whatever.
Get
me off of here.
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny.
'Cause, I think me and you did pretty well in that area. So
Yeah, and shout out to my better half, because she's been a very good sport with my taxidermy and the hunting, and unfortunately our trunk freezer is just full of dead things, and she's a great sport.
Yeah, that's cool.
Great sport about it.
Yeah, totally, man. Oh, that's awesome. That's right, like your better half, like the sport, like all the things in life, man. Like when you have a good relationship, it's like you support each other. You don't kick each other and you don't criticize, but you also give some constructive criticism. I think in a healthy relationship, you should have enough, confidence in each other and enough communication to know, like, you're saying this that sounds kind of mean because you care. Like even my friends do. Like I pick all my friends. Like my friend Jody told me, she tells her kids, pick your friends and let your friends pick you. And I was like, wow, that's a pretty good line. I'm stealing that.
I'm so glad you picked me, Luke.
Yeah, well, definitely, man. You're definitely in the circle. But it was also like people who I knew would be honest to me. I knew would be positive, and I knew would give me feedback no matter how they felt I would feel about it. But also they'd have the confidence to know that I'm not going to bite their head off. And it may sting for a hot second, but I'm going to marinate on it before I even give a response if it does sting. And then, because then I know enough to know to take a breather and be like, wow, that was a little rough. I'm like, man, there must be something to this. And then be like, man, I know you're saying this because you care. And that's usually the first thing that'll come out of my mouth. And because I guess I just have such gratitude for my friends. Like, I don't take them for granted. So it's like, okay, wow, all right, give me a minute. And, I've had this in the past with, like, bad relationships or just bad decisions, but mostly, like, bad relationships. And where, a friend had to come tell me, like, hey, man, this isn't good. This isn't good for either of you,
Now, given your line of work, in the fire service with, the smoke jumping, the wildland firefighter, that's not your normal run-of-the-mill job. That's very dangerous, very excruciating, and these are people that start off as coworkers, quickly become friends, and probably even quicker from that, segue to being family and brothers and sisters,
yes.
Brothers in arms, so to speak. And I'm sure that quite a few of the people in your circle, your close lifelong friends, are folks that you made jumping fires and, out protecting the woods.
Yeah, man. And you kind of see it too, like the brotherhood they always talk about, like more in the structure fire world, but it's definitely in the wildland world, really strong. You see it, in the hotshot community quite a bit. Like I just had Borg on, who's retiring, and Borg did a really good job of articulating that relationship. Like these shots that walk through the door. One thing I love about that guy, man, about the Borg is like, he's like, we will shut down everything to give this person our undivided attention, because one, they're part of our family. They were on the crew before any of us. So I want to, like, we're gonna entertain. We're gonna talk to them. We're gonna get to know them. We're gonna make this their place, because also it's in the same barracks. I'm pretty sure where it started, which is cool. So it's like, come on in. You're back at home now. Kind of feeling. And then also like, well, we want to know your story, man. Like, what was it like back then? Like that's super important. It's super important to the legacy of the crew to spread that word so that the new firefighters, the new hotshots know how it was back in the day and build this relationship and this bridge to the past,
That is very important. You have to know where you came from to know where you're going.
100%.
And you have to honor the heritage that goes with it. And something like wildland firefighting, there's a lot of heritage that comes with that.
Blood, sweat, and tears, like you're talking, man.
That's right.
So I think, too, for me, like when I meet smoke jumpers, like current or past or present past, future, whatever it might be, more of the present and past, I guess. It's like there's this bond that's like, poof, like there's no, it feels like there's none of the butt sniffing, none of the weird like feeling each other
Posturing
out,
and chest beating. Yeah.
it's like, man, like same, you know, like guy, girl, whatever, smoke jumper, you know, it's like, but it goes even deeper than that, because like you were kind of saying, it feels more like that family aspect where it's like, usually there's a high five to start off and there's a hug to end it, you know, it's like,
Yeah.
and even if I just met him, you know, like, it's super cool. Like I had my friend Ashley Taylor on, and we kind of met briefly when we were both jumping, and then we talked about a fundraiser and a little bit about the cool stuff that she's doing with a lot of like mental health and just like therapies that she does. But like from not knowing each other very well, which is kind of more crossing in Alaska, and to interviewing her on the podcast, it was just like we'd been friends for years, because there's so much common ground there. I think there's so much care, and like I know what she went through for the most part, right?
Right.
She knows what I went through to become a smoke jumper, and like what we're also like trying to give back. Like it's a community thing being a firefighter, whether it's, you know, for a city department, a volunteer for a small town, you know, a district crew, like, or you know, an engine on a district, or, you know, repeller, helitack, hot shot, smoke jumper, all those things. We're all doing the similar mission, you know, of like protecting community, giving back, and so we all have this bond. So it doesn't matter like at what firehouse or, you know, fire department you come from, or district, you know, jump base, you know, rappel base, whatever it might be. Like we're all, you know,
At the end of the day, you guys all share that same mission.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like you have this bond over that, you know, and then, but then there is this little bit of sibling rivalry, which is
Oh, of course.
amazing. You know, it's like the best because there's so many of us, right? There's like, especially like just in the aerial fire world, right? You got helitack, repellers, smoke jumpers. So you got that little bit of infighting, which is awesome. Like, and it's more of just a ribbing, like giving each other a hard time
Oh, of
about,
course.
like, you know, like the helitack a lot of times be like, yeah, we'll come pick you up, you know, like since, you know, you can't get out of there, you know, or like once you guys get injured, we'll come get you or whatever, you know, kind of that back and forth. And, you know, like hot shot versus jumper kind of deal too, you know, and yeah, it's super fun, man.
Yeah, that's part of what makes it interesting, because yeah, you got that little ribbing and stuff like, but it makes you closer.
Yeah.
Because if you can't joke around with someone about that, you know, the helitech folks, you know, oh, well, they're the real heroes. They're the ones that save you guys, you know, save the ones that do the saving, you know. But at the end of the day, you guys are all parts of the same whole.
Exactly. Yeah. 100%, man. Yeah. There's a pretty funny story out in Miles City. Originally, I think it was just our hangar, like it's in the jumpers, like Missoula jump base, spike base, and we had the whole hangar to ourselves. And then eventually, Miles City Helitech became, you know, shared it with us. And so there was a bit of a clash there and some infighting between, you know, the Helitech and the jumpers. And it really is, I think, probably just like, you know, one or two people. Like the rest, I think we're getting along just fine. But, you know, one of the classic games is Foursquare. Are you familiar?
I don't think so.
It's like a rubber dodgeball, but there's like...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but it's 4 squares. You have like a pitcher, and, you know, you can only use your feet, and, you know, you kick it.
Yeah, gym class.
Yeah, gym class, yeah. But it's a pretty popular game in the jump world. And, like, when you're kind of killing some time on the tarmac, because, you know, what else are you going to do?
Sure.
So the story goes is that... I wish I knew who did this. I'd love to get the actual story from them. Maybe I will someday. But the like Helitack Shack is there where like they do all their like where all the head folks show out, you know, hang out with all where their computers are so they can do their time and briefing and all the things, like in this air conditioned trailer, I think is what it was or what it is. I can't remember. It's been a long time since I was there. But it has windows. And somehow the ball got kicked in the window, broke the window.
Oh.
So jumpers, and by the jumpers, right? So jumpers go to the Helitack, hey, sorry, you know, we'll replace it, we'll fix it. And I think the Helitack get called on assignment, so they leave. Jumpers fix the window. Jumpers, being clever, funny jumpers, stuck a smoke jumper sticker in between the panes, or you can't get that sucker out. In like their main like
that's
ops
just
booth.
good clean fun.
Good clean fun, man. But I think it struck a chord a little bit. But I was like, that is so awesome, man. Because then the next year, the parachute packing table is just like left there. You know, it stays. What they did was, I'm trying to remember exactly how this went, but I'm pretty sure they sanded down our parachute packing table, stuck all their stickers on it, and then refinished over the top with like a clear lacquer. So it was like, fair play.
that was clever on their part.
That was a good rebuttal.
Yeah,
I remember like going in there and I'm like, what's going on here? It was like, all right, they got us back.
I'm not going to sand the table down, but that's cool.
And that kind of stuff, I love it, right? Because you're like, oh, that's cool, man. Like, leave those stickers there, for the Helltech. Well played. But dude, put it in like the main window there, like the smoke jumper sticker that you can't ever remove.
Just a little reminder.
Yeah, got you.
That's cool.
Oh, it's so funny. But then there's a little infighting between like even the jump bases, right? Like when I was at NCSB, there was a Grangeville, I think it was, and a Boise maybe, but both of them I think maybe in the urinals, because like,
a little something to aim at.
Something to aim at, like, just that kind of fun stuff. Because everyone's always tagging each other. Like you hear about like hotshot buggies getting like stickered up by another hotshot crew with jumpers or something. If it gets left somewhere. So yeah, that stuff's awesome, man. And those are the kind of things that keep you around,
So tell me, Luke, I was thinking about this. You've spent lots of times, being dropped on location, being out in the woods and stuff like that. Have you ever ran into anything that kind of made you feel unsettled, or where you kind of felt uncomfortable in a situation?
No, it's kind of crazy to think about because, like I run into folks that are scared of the woods all the time, especially bears and stuff. Like,
out here, you got grizzlies.
Yeah, it is a different beast. But I don't know, it just doesn't enter my brain. And maybe it's just ignorance on my own part. So I've never really had anything where I was on a fire where I was like, I need to get the F out of here. But I never had like a close call, and there's a story in Alaska where one of the gals, and I don't want to say her name, but I'm pretty sure it was my friend who got chased by the grizzly. And I also want to interview her to see if she, and I'll ask her this, when she comes on. But like, if that happened to me, if I got chased by a grizzly, probably a different story. But yeah, like, nothing. I guess I didn't have enough close calls, or anything like made me spooked out. And I think a lot of it too is like, I was so damn exhausted.
That's fair. You're not really cognizant of your surroundings. You're just trying to get her done and get back.
Yeah, exactly, man. So you get done, you eat some food, share some stories with whoever you're with, man. And what's cool thing about jumping is it's always random. Like it's rare to jump the same fire with the same group because stuff happens. People go elsewhere. The list is always rotating. So you get to know some folks, a little more, the ones you jump fires with. And also I think it's just like, you're in such a beautiful spot, man. And maybe I'm just like detrimentally optimistic all the time that like, maybe there was like something licking its chops at me in the tree above, swishing its tail like a mountain lion. But I was just like staring past him in the stars like, man, look at that, dude. It's like the Milky Way is out, like look at all these stars. Oh, there's a shooting star there, like just enjoying the stillness too of the night. I think too because everything is kind of like loud and go, and then you get to lay down and just like cuddle in nature because we're sleeping on the ground.
Cowboy camp.
Yeah, I rarely had a tent. Once I started carrying this Nemo thermarest that was like super cool. Shout out to Nemo, super packable. So I had that and basically that and a super thin sleeping bag. Just enjoying the scene.
Yeah, I think I've tried it a couple of times, and it's hard to shake that feeling of vulnerability. Just laying there, on your bedroll on the ground, looking at it. I don't know if humans have just evolved to feel more comfortable under cover or something, or maybe it's just knowing what's out there. But I always have a hard time getting a good night's sleep just sleeping on the ground.
Dude, I just had this conversation with the gal at work, and I was like, I fucking hate tents. she's like, come on, you don't like that false insecurity, the super thin piece of nylon between you and a bear?
That's true. That's true when you put it like that.
I was like, that's exactly why I hate it, because partly I hate the sound of it in the wind, because it seems like even a little breeze will get your tent flapping a little bit. So I hate that. I hate that I can't see. Like even if the windows are down.
It's like a ostrich sticking its head in the ground.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like I'm safe.
Fine. Yeah, everything's fine. I can't see anything.
Exactly.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, that's kind of I think where it goes for me too is like being out. I can see everything. I can hear better. It's like I don't know, I'm just more aware. Like if the weather got bad and typically this is what a lot of smoke troopers do is like build like a hooch. You have most of us would jump with still jump with a tarp, like a blue tarp, and you just
make a little lean-to type.
Yeah. Man, I was on this fire I was filling in with the Hell Attack at the time, and the West Yellowstone smoke jumpers were there. It was in Yellowstone. Super just epic, dude. The most sheds I'd ever seen in my life, man. Like,
you can look, but you can't touch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, everything was a trophy, man. It was insane. It was so awesome, everywhere. And yeah, I was like taking photos with them and stuff. I don't even know where the photos went. This is a long time ago, but we got hit by like just a monsoon of moisture for like 2 days. And it was super cool because all the jumpers were hooched up, and they had set their hooch up where, because I was like peeking in on it, and I was like, I think I asked one of them, like, are you guys dry? And he's like, take a look. And dude, just totally dry. And it was like a driving rain like the night before. I was like, dude, that was like, you guys nailed it. Like, how? Like, because even when I was jumping, it was a trial and error. Like, I would just set it up to like what I think. I'm like, all right, the east-west, it's probably coming from the west. I'm going to set up, southwest typically has weather patterns. I'm like, I'll lean it kind of that way. So like closer to the ground over here, still keep me dry over here. I'd still feel like I'd have to play with it if a big storm came up,
Oh, yeah.
But,
yeah.
and maybe they were. Maybe they're wrestling in the middle of the night. I didn't see it. But like, to me, it was part of the smoke jumper lure. It's like, oh man, these guys like just nailed it,
Yeah, I think that's everyone's worst nightmare that spends any time in the mountains, is just like a freak weather anomaly coming in, getting rain or snow. Or actually, this past year, they were looking for 2 missing hunters in the San Juan Mountains. I don't know if you had heard about that.
I think so. Keep going.
So these 2 guys, I think they're in their 20s, went out elk hunting. And there's, I'll say one part before I get to the other.
Yeah, go ahead.
So these guys went missing, and they had all hands on deck. I mean, over 200 people on foot. They had ATVs, they had horses, they had helicopters, they had dogs, they had drones with the FLIR trying to find these guys, and they could not find anything. They did eventually end up finding the gentleman, and they were both underneath a tree, and they were a little thrown back because there wasn't any obvious, or thrown off because there wasn't any obvious signs of death. Well, it turns out that they were huddling under a tree. What they theorize is that they were huddling under a tree, and that tree got struck by lightning, and they got electrocuted by the lightning. And with the mountains, like you had mentioned earlier, that the lightning storms are just amplified. I mean, until you see a true lightning storm in the mountains out west, I mean, it puts it to shame, because they can be dry, and the sky is a strobe. And I know that's how a lot of wildland fires start, is by lightning.
Yeah. That's a good point, man, because like when my mom lived in northern Alabama, so we go visit her like just outside of Huntsville, and I'm trying to remember the actual town, but either way, it's similar to like Midwest storms, right?
A lot of rain, a lot of moisture.
Yeah, it just feels like you're close to the clouds. The thunder's louder, so it feels more aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, it's really not. Like I didn't experience some pretty nasty like tornado type storms or tornado storms in Alabama, in Illinois, in Wisconsin. But like out here, man, all the electric storms I've been in, like in the West, like here, California, Oregon, Washington, Nevada, Utah, like all the places I've fought fire. Like you said, it's a win. It's not if, it's a win. You get stuck in a electrical storm, and it, like you said, the frequency and the vicinity of lightning that has been around me is scary. Like it is intense,
and it can roll in at the drop of a hat.
Yeah,
it could be
fast.
a beautiful day, not a cloud in the sky, and you're halfway up this mountain, and just like that, I'm in danger.
Totally, man. Yeah, I had that happen this summer. I was actually like helping out with a MCC crew. So it was a YCC. So it was like Montana Youth Conservation Corps. So like we have our Montana Conservation Corps, which is like the CCC back in the day. It was a youth one. So these kids, they're in high school. And I'm up on McCart Lookout. We're doing some repairs, and they're helping us out as like part of their service project, right? And luckily I called my friend Sam, who's been on the podcast a couple times. Sam's the man, Sam Vaughn. He's luckily still staffing Sula at this time. So I call him. I'm like, hey man, we're getting some weird winds, but I can't see the cloud buildup. And I'm like, I just got the feeling, right? And like you said, you get in the mountains enough, you kind of feel it. Like, I'm like, man, what are you seeing? And he's like, we got some buildup, man, but I don't think it's too crazy. And like, he said like a couple more words, and I went to ask him another question about something else, like, the future forecast or something. I can't remember, because we were coming back up the next day. He's like, hold on a second, buddy. And he's like, oh, yeah, man, you guys got to get out of there. like that was on him, and he was miles away from us, like directly west. So I was like, due west, and I was like, oh no. So I'm like, all right, time to pack up, and I don't think we got a little time because, like I said, he's miles away from us, and we close up the lookout, McCart Lookout again, start hiking off, and the wind started kind of picking up, and then the problem is we're in the timber, so I really can't see anything, but I can feel it, right? And I'm like, and then you start hearing the roll and thunder coming, and I'm like, oh, we got to roll. And these kids, happy-go-lucky kids, goofballs, are messing with each other, and I'm just like,
guys, we have to get off this mountain.
Exactly. I'm at the end of the crew of kids. I'm at the end of the line, and I'm just like, all right, pick her up. We got to pick it up. Come on, team. Let's keep going. We got to keep going. And they're like, oh, look at this. Look at that. They're like stopping and check things out. I'm like, not time. We'll be up. We'll be back tomorrow. Come on. Let's keep going. And sure enough, man, it just starts hitting all around us like lightning. And my other friend who's in rec is at the East Fork Guard Station, which is right down the road. And Joe is, and I'm like, and Joe's even like, he's like, I was worried about you guys, man, because he could see it just like bolts all over that mountain. He's like, he thought the lookout had gotten hit, which it actually did.
Really?
I forgot about that part. Yeah, it did. Because then me and Brand went back up, and I didn't notice it. And I guess we didn't go all the way back up to the lookout the next day. We just did some trail clearing the next day. But the next week, me and Brand went up because we had to get the old stove out. And Brand's like, oh, man, did you guys try to burn down the tower? I'm like, what are you talking about? And, like, right at the base where one of the lighting rods comes down, one of the lighting cables, off the lighting rod comes down, thick copper, it must have got hot enough to it started a fire right around the concrete pillar.
Wow.
Yeah, where one of the legs sits for the lookout. They're just like, oh, damn. Well, I'm glad we got off this sucker, dude, because, like, since it's a rental and since it hasn't been in use, it doesn't have, like, the proper safety stuff that you'd have in your typical lookout, like insulated stools or insulated chairs, which have the insulators that you see on the power line on. So, like, what you do as a lookout is when that storm comes, you hop on that stool or the chair so that, like, the lookout can get hammered, which happens quite a bit.
The floor is lava, so to speak.
The floor is lava, exactly. And the insulators keep the lava from getting you. So they just huddle up on that sucker until it passes so they don't get fried. So, like, we didn't really have the option to stay up there. So
oh, no.
That's why I was like,
now with a gaggle of kids.
Exactly. So, like, we had to roll on these goofballs. Like, I still don't think one of them know, like, how close it was to death. And then, like, we, it's still, lightning's still going crazy. But then all of a sudden, like, we get a little break in the action. And then we get, like, golf ball sized hail coming down.
That's another thing about the West. The hail out here does not play around.
No, dude. And it's thick. I mean, like, blizzard. Like,
yeah, the ground looks like snow.
Yeah, man. And, like, so then they all pause to put their hard hats on, which is kind of smart, but also they got to dig them out. And then, like, they're messing with each other then, too. And I'm like, we got to go. So, like, I didn't even mess with my hard hat. I was, like, take my backpack, which I wanted them to do, and just put it over my head because it was enough to hurt you. Not like real bad damage, but sting. So, like, so I just grabbed my backpack, put it over my head, and start, like, motoring. And, like, so then I'm getting ahead of the train to try to get them to, like, come on, let's go. I'm going to keep rolling. Like, it's not over,
Yeah.
So we get back to the trucks, and the hail is starting to peter out, but then you got some lightning on the backside of the storm, and, but we were able to make it out of there. But also the road is mud. It's dirt. So it's starting to turn to mud and got some cliffy looking spots. And I'm pretty sure they just had, like, rental Suburbans, which don't have off-road tread. It's a highway tire. So I'm like, I got to get these guys off the hill. This is the next, in the domino effect of, like, bad things, or the Swiss cheese model, they like to say. This is the next hole in the cheese. It's like, gotta get these guys off the mountain before, the mud gets, bad. So, but luckily, which is also, like, kind of a benefit, though, is, like, they're such a fun group that they're just, like, having a great time the whole time. While I'm like, yeah, man, I'll make sure that none of these guys die.
Well, I feel, when you talk about, you just feel it in the air. My right leg is titanium from the hip down to the ankle.
Oh.
And when we get a good lightning storm rolling in, I feel every single strike. It's like a strobe.
Yeah.
And that just is a statement on the energy that's emitted by these things. And they're everywhere. I mean, it hits a tree, makes that tree explode, or lights it on fire.
Yeah.
It's just crazy what Mother Nature's capable of.
Oh, it is, man. Yeah, damn it. And that just reminded me, I forgot about I had an intro all worked up for you in my head, and I forgot to go through it. But what it was going to be is, welcome to the podcast, Colton Mora, the second most interesting man in Chicago.
Runner up, that's right.
Yeah.
Runner up to the most interesting man in Chicago. Yeah.
Yeah, and a man who survived a wreck with a motorcycle with a car collision.
That's right. Yeah. Don't know how I managed to walk away from that or limp away from that.
Yeah, man.
The way that I did, but I guess there's bigger plans for me out there.
Yeah, totally, man. But you know that feeling, and especially from that experience, that like the checking out. You're like, this might be it.
Yeah, it's a really weird feeling, and I've had a couple of near-death experiences, but that was probably my closest. It's a very weird feeling.
It is.
I'd almost say that there's sort of like a sense of peace with it, where you just kind of accept that this could very well be the end.
Because you were even making phone calls. You're like,
I
called your mom.
I was trying because I've
like you could feel the end coming.
I thought that was gonna be it, and I called her and I'm like, hey mom, I love you guys. I appreciate everything you ever did. Delete my browser history, but I think this might be it.
Burn my computer if you could, please.
That's right. Yeah, throw my phone off the bridge.
Go smash that thing, please.
But yeah, it's a really weird feeling, and I remember laying there in the ditch after this car hit me, because it T-boned me, and the bike got hooked up on the front of the car, sent me over the handlebars, and I flew about 40 feet into the ditch. And I remember being in the air upside down and seeing my motorcycle still stuck to the front of that car and thinking, I'm about to hit the ground. And thankfully, I did cheerleading in high school, and so I kind of have a rough idea of my spatial awareness, where I am,
like a gymnast,
sort of speak.
Yeah.
So I knew that I had to kind of tuck my head and try to roll to dissipate that force, and it land to in the ditch, and I was. The number one thing I did not want to do is send myself into shock, because I was still conscious. I still had my bearings. And if you go into shock, you're kind of screwed, because you're kind of let your body's emergency faculties take over and you lose manual control.
Yeah, man.
So I did, when I landed and kind of realized what had happened, I did the extremity check, hands good. I'm not paralyzed, at least not from the waist up. And my left leg, good. My right leg, when I had landed, was folded up underneath. I was sort of like a figure four. But I could not move my right leg. So didn't want to look at it. Didn't want to, freak myself out. So I just kind of ran my hand down my thigh. And I feel my femur poking out over my knee. And I'm like, ooh, that's not good.
Yeah.
So I might as well just get a look. And then I see my fibia and my tibia poking out of my shin over my blue jeans. And I'm like, oh, that's not good. And then I see the blood start pouring out from the femur. And the first thing that I think of is the arteries in your leg. I don't know what kind of damage I have. And I see this blood start pouring out, and I'm like, I just hit an artery. This is going to be it.
Yeah, man.
So then I'm trying to make phone calls at 1:30 in the morning, letting my folks know what happened, and this very well might be it.
Yeah,
but
man.
you know what? Even seeing my leg and feeling that, it didn't send me into shock, and I was able to kind of stay with it. And
dude, that's a testament to your mental toughness, my friend. Because being able to be like, okay, that happened. All right, next thing, and just keeping that maintain, consciousness. Because like you said, like how you described going to shock earlier, that's exactly what it is. And then you are no help to yourself or anybody else at this point, because you're not there anymore.
There's a phrase that always sticks with me, and I can't remember what the first part of it is, but the last part is prepare for self-rescue. And that's something that I always keep in the back of my mind whenever I'm, out in the mountains by myself, down on the property, really just anywhere, is that at the end of the day, you might get lucky if someone happens to be able to save you, but you need to be prepared to save yourself.
Yeah,
and
man.
In a situation like that, that was kind of, I guess, sort of the thought process, because if I was going to try to make this one out, you got to have your wits about you.
Yeah, exactly. 'Cause that's where it starts, right in the gray matter. You got to save yourself in the brain first, and then get your body start doing what your brain needs it to do.
But the weird part about it, and maybe this is when I was starting to lose a little bit of blood, as I'm laying there waiting for the EMS to show up, and this happened out in the county. So, you're going to be waiting 10 or 15 minutes, and it's the middle of the night, so these guys are getting out of bed and, rubbing their eyes. I'm laying there, and I'm just looking up at the sky, and it's a nice, clear night. This happened at the beginning of September, so it was starting to get a little nippy at night. And I'm laying there just kind of looking at the stars, just kind of focusing on my breathing, but also sort of making my amends and just, kind of thinking about what's going to be next. And vivid, clear as day. And I, now know that this didn't actually happen. But at the time, I'm laying there and I feel something cold on my forehead. And I kind of look up, and it's a bear looking down at me, just kind of sniffing my forehead. And it kind of snorts and shakes its head a little bit and just walks away. And I think the way that I had processed that, or what that was just like a manifestation for, the little mountain man inside of me to say that, you're not dead yet. You're not some scavenge kill for the bear yet. The bear doesn't want you.
Yeah.
And
it's like the collector came to check it out and was like,
that's right.
Not yet.
That's right. And then after that, that's, everyone pulled up and they were able to save me.
Oh, man.
But that was
it was a close call, dude.
It was a wild ride. But you know what? I think I had touched on this before, that I think I have a touch of that toxoplasmosis that makes people reckless, because the first hospital they took me to, they didn't have the facilities to handle the extent of my injuries. They didn't even know what the extent of my injuries were at the time. So they were going to flight for life me to another hospital. And again, I'm still with it. And I say, well, how much is that helicopter ride? Say it's about $15,000, and it's not covered by insurance, but can you put a price on your life? And I go, well, how much is the ambulance ride? They said $500. I said, my life's worth about $500. Put me back in that ambulance and send me south. So they okay,
really?
Which they probably shouldn't have listened to me, because at this point I think I was pumped up with whatever the ambulance gave me to offset the
stabilizer.
And the pain and all that. But they put me back in the ambulance and sent me down. And
they're like, okay.
Yeah, but they listened to me. Probably shouldn't have. And that poor girl that was in the back of the ambulance with me, she was helping me pick out what kind of wood my peg leg was going to be. Because at this point, I was convinced. I was convinced my leg was ground beef. So maybe a nice rich mahogany.
What do you think about that? Yeah. Go with my eyes.
Yeah, exactly. And she was a great sport about it. But you'd catch her kind of glancing at the driver every once in a while, like, is this guy serious?
Yeah, just like, speed this thing up, huh?
Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to help him name his parrot.
Name his parrot, yeah, exactly.
But they managed to, at the end of the day, despite that wreck, I was going about 45 miles an hour, and I flew almost 50 feet. And I did have my helmet on, which I would advocate for anyone. If you're going to be on a motorcycle, that is really your only line of defense. Yeah. And even that doesn't always do it. But where was I going with this? But I was, that was my crash, going 45. I was hit, flew like 50 feet. But the only injuries that I really sustained were to my leg. Yeah. I had a bruised lung. I had a minor concussion, but my femur was broken in 4 spots. My fibia and tibia were broken. Every bone in my foot was broken.
Oh, jeez.
And there was a point where I had kind of come to out of my little hospital sleeps, and all these white coats are standing around me, and they're like, we're not entirely convinced that we're going to be able to save your leg. We're going to try, but just kind of prepare yourself for that being a scenario that might not happen here.
Yeah.
And thankfully they were able to put it back together.
Absolutely.
So
man.
I got some gnarly scars to go with it, but that just kind of adds to the story.
Yeah, man, adds to the mystique of you.
Yeah.
And that was pre second most interesting man in Chicago.
That was
post.
That was after. Right. That's right.
So like if that happened now, I mean, you might have won.
That might have won. Yeah, the guy that beat me out for the most interesting man in Chicago had a handlebar mustache, His wife was a rodeo clown.
Oh, no way.
Probably not as good as Caleb, though.
I mean, yeah.
That's a pretty hard benchmark.
Yeah.
And he commuted on a unicycle.
Oh.
And his job was he would clean the inside of the shed aquarium.
Really? That's pretty interesting.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm not upset that he beat me.
Yeah.
I'm not upset that he beat me because my resume was a little bit more eclectic, but not quite didn't have as much depth as his was.
Yeah, that's pretty hard to beat, man. This guy's carrying a lot there, man. That's a heavy competition. But,
Yeah.
I mean, like, to be involved is super cool. And you got to talk on the radio a little bit, didn't you?
That's right. Yeah, they had me on there and say my spiel and, let Chicagoland be the judge. And honestly, second place isn't bad because that means you still have more to aspire to.
That's true.
If you're at the top of the mountain, where do you go from there?
Yeah, exactly. We're at the top of the mountain.
And that kind of feeds back to what we were saying about life is made to live. If you're faced with decisions and choices every day, and you have the safe bet and you kind of have the scary ones, and sometimes it's good to go with the safe bet, but
Yeah.
a lot of times you take that what if and just jump in feet first. If it doesn't work out, it's not a mistake, and it's an experience.
Absolutely, man. Well, like, even like you, this actually kind of worked out good to do at the end of towards the end of the podcast, is to tie all this together. So, like, that wasn't really the intro, more the outro to, talk about your accident. Because, like, if, like, your story, just from the outside looking in, right? You had a great job at the Forge, like, you're making really good money, helping support your family, like, living your life, doing well. Accident happens, boom. Life is totally to a dead stop from, like, racing. Like, right, you're doing all these things. You're starting to build this cool life that you always wanted to live. Got this sweet car. Like, things are coming.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and then all of a sudden, like, nothing in your power to stop it. It stops dead halt. And then you get a lot of time to reevaluate and recover your life, and you spend a little more time in the Midwest, and then it's like, I'm heading west.
Yeah, you think about what's important and that how fast life can be taken away from you.
Yeah.
And so it just made sense to, do I want to live somewhere that is kind of miserable and dream about the place that I love? Or do I want to just go for it and just figure it out when I get there? And it all just so worked out, that I was able to go out west and get into taxidermy, get into, guiding and being in the outdoors.
Yes.
And coincidentally meet the love of my life and start a family of my own. And I just couldn't imagine it any other way. And, one door might get, slammed shut, but boy, there's plenty of open windows.
Yeah. That's a great way to put it, man. And, like, that's kind of like you launched yourself out the window, head out west, man. And, like, in a way back to your roots, but also, like, the unknown,
Yeah.
Like, you had family out in, I was going to say out here, but out in Colorado, your grandma was there and stuff. But, like, who knows, like, how old it's going to be like for you, right? Because you're not living there. It's other folks.
Right, right. And there was a lot of unknown and a lot of nervousness. Am I going to find, friends out there? Am I going to be able to find a job? Am I really going to like it like I did growing up out there as a kid?
Yeah.
So many questions, and you just kind of let time figure itself out. And then before you know it, it's like, I can't believe I didn't do this sooner.
Totally, man.
And it sucks that a near-death experience has to give you that kind of clarity, but I'm sure thankful that it did.
Absolutely, man. And how was it, dude? Like, I can't really put myself in those shoes. I've never experienced that. Like, for folks who don't know, that part of Illinois where you're living is gotten so busy and so, like, fast-paced. Like, it's crazy. Like, you could, any time of the night you want to grab some food, you can go grab some food. You can get, like, whatever you need pretty much all the time. And everyone's in such a high-octane move. People aren't quite as friendly because they don't have time. They're not going to be like, hey, how's your day going? It's more like, how's it going? And keep it moving.
Out of my way.
Yeah, a little more rude, I guess.
Yeah.
So, like, to go from that to, like, more of that slow-paced back in the mountains.
Well, where we're at, it is 13 miles of dirt roads before you hit pavement. And then you have about another 8 miles of pavement before you get to the nearest little town. And this is, little one-horse town. It used to be a mining community, but we have a gas station. And that's new. We never used to have one. Before that, there was nothing.
And, like, so, like, to go from that busy, like, Midwest, just not far from Chicago lifestyle to, was there a little bit of time where you're just like, man, this is too slow?
Well, I never really had that because growing up out there, I kind of knew what I was getting myself into.
Yeah,
And
you're familiar with the pace.
right.
Oh, gotcha.
And I look at the drives as, you're familiar with out here. That's just kind of the price of doing business. That's your Western tax, if you will, that things are going to be a bit of a drive. You want to go to Walmart, it's an hour and a half away. You just plan accordingly for it and enjoy the views, enjoy the drive.
Yeah, man.
I'm okay with it. In fact, I kind of prefer it.
Me too, man. For me, like, I like the slower pace, like, and the drive times, because like it gives me a chance to catch up on a podcast I've been wanting to listen to, or that somebody sent me, or look up something that I'm interested in to listen to, or sometimes nothing. Like if I'm like been thinking about some of the podcast, or like something with the family that I'm trying to build, like what that we're trying to go do, or whatever it might be. I'll like marinate on some thoughts for a while without any music or anything in the car, man, or in the truck. I'm just like heading down the road. Like, especially if I'm doing a podcast, sometimes I don't listen to anything, man. I hook up the truck to the Airstream here, and I'm just like motoring for a while, and like just brainstorming on some things and thinking about the podcast I'm about to do, thinking about the next one, or I'll call a buddy and just talk shop with them for a little bit, and so like you said, like I kind of dig the commute, and also not having to battle traffic, so it's not like I'm white knuckling it, that's where I feel bad for like folks that we know back there that are like,
it is bumper to bumper all the time.
Yeah, like an hour worth of it, right, in the morning, and then an hour worth of it coming home. Like it's got to be so hard to jack down once you get back to your house.
Well, and the way that I also look at it is a very good detox of what modern society is, because if you look around, say someone that lives in a apartment in Missoula, you step outside and you hear car horns, and you see lit up billboards and flashing neon signs,
sirens
and sirens, and then you're looking at your phone watching different Instagrams and reels and stuff like that, and it's just this overstimulating environment. And I think they're finding now that especially people that are glued to their phone screens, they're seeing an uptick in early onset dementia for people as early as like their 30s and 40s, and they're linking that with all of this overstimulation. It's decreasing our attention span, and I think it's kind of keeping people from getting into deeper reflective thought.
Yeah.
And being in a place like you guys are at, or where I'm at, where it's quiet and it's dark at night, and you can go for a drive and you're not seeing billboards and signs, I think it's very good for that caveman, that Homo erectus deep inside of us, that really is meant to be, chasing mammoths with spears and living out in the woods. Really the only artificial light you should see is a campfire.
Yeah.
And even now they're saying that staring at a campfire regenerates stem cells.
Oh, in your eyes?
In like the human body.
Oh, whoa.
And they think that might be like a innate adaptation, because think about it. If you're out on the frozen tundra chasing a mammoth, and you're getting chased by saber-toothed tigers or short-faced bears, and then you're finally at a point where you can relax and you can set up camp and you can have a fire, and you're sitting around staring at this fire, that is like the opportunity for your body to recharge from this huge like load you've been putting onto it.
Yeah.
And I don't think that we've lost that. And so that, ironically, even though that's something that you guys fight, there is a very close-knit relationship between man and fire.
Yes.
And sometimes friend, sometimes foe. And it's a really cool thing to think about.
Yeah, man, there's actually a couple layers to that too that I'm thinking about, like the regeneration factor of it, right? Like, not only like warmth and relaxation, and the hypnotic nature of fire, like if anyone's ever looked at it,
and the safety that it provides.
Yeah, totally, man. You sleep better like having a fire going, like, and then and meal, right? You're cooking your food over it.
That's right.
So there's that too, and then in the wildfire, like we do prescribe burns because of the regenerative nature fire has to a landscape, right? Like it comes and cleans up all the dead and down.
And there's some plants that can't even germinate without having a fire. I believe there's certain conifers, that need that fire to release.
Yep.
I mean, how cool is that?
Yeah, man. Well, that's kind of like what we talked about earlier about the beaver. Like everything's connected, and like when we pluck something out of the environment, out of the ecosystem, things start to go awry, get a little haywire, like versus when it was all pieced together before that we had a big impact on it. No one really knows how long man's been on here, so like I starting to really not like the argument of like, well, let's set this back before man. Well, when was it? Do you know?
That's right.
Like I mean, like the Blackfoot tribe or the Blackfeet had just figured out that they had something like backdated to like way further in history than current archaeologists thought.
I think they believed that like the modern man and like the use of tools and stuff probably happened around 10,000 BC. I believe is what they were saying.
Oh, gotcha. I don't know the date.
But with the newer discoveries, so for example,
with the Blackfeet tribe.
With the Blackfeet tribe.
Yeah.
Here, you go finish. I don't want to cut you off.
Oh no, I was just saying like it's just a very recent discovery that I was reading the other day, and I got to talk to my friends who were some tribe members to confirm the information, but it was like. Yeah, I mean, it was like well before the accepted date of when humans were in North America,
So about an hour southeast of where I'm located is Folsom, New Mexico. And I don't know if that name rings a bell with you, but there is a type of stone tip, like a napped arrowhead that they call a Folsom point.
Oh, yes.
And that's because of that area. So what they found is they found a ditch that had tons of bison remains as well as Native American artifacts. And this was the first documented site of this is proof of humans hunting bison. And the weird part is that the timestamp on that did not match up with the normal what the accepted belief was as to when humans started using tools for hunting. And that's just, like I said, an hour southeast of us.
That's super cool,
it's
man.
cool being so close to that history. And even still, I find arrowheads along my driveway.
Yeah.
And it really brings you back to thinking about how not very long ago, this was wild land.
Dude, absolutely, man. And like like you said, all this was wild land, and then the abundance of what do you call it, projectile tips, right? Is that like kind of the like all-encompassing like spear tips,
I think so.
arrowhead tips
accepted,
or whatever. Yeah, like the abundance of projectile tips that, like you said, along your driveway, like every time it rains. I haven't really looked as much around here, but like at my dad's house, we'll find different things. Like there's just like an area where right next to where this thing was parked for like 20 years, obsidian, chunks of obsidian from like napping, like you said.
And how cool is that?
Yeah, there's no obsidian around there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's wild.
But it's a cool vantage point in the valley. Like it's kind of close to dead center, in the Jefferson Valley between the Highland Mountains and the tobacco roots, and just there's a big ravine that goes through my folks' property, and it's just like, yeah, probably a good spot for him to hang out and whittle some more projectile tips while he's waiting for the next animal to cross his path, probably,
And that's part of what makes the West so wondrous to me, is that you go out east or you go out to California and everything, and you have all these modern amenities and everything is just so progressive and built up. And then you come out here and you look down and there's an arrowhead, and it really brings you back to, we are not that far away from what we once were.
Yeah.
And you kind of feel like that when you're out in the woods, and it really helps.
Especially with hunting, right?
And with hunting, that's right. I mean, which is at its core very primal. But it just, it keeps you grounded.
Yes.
It keeps you grounded. And that's, I think, why the people out west are so friendly and happy, because they get to live that every day.
Yeah. No, I agree, man. And I think you have more value for things, right? Because you, like the same thing we're doing with more advanced technology with, bow hunting and rifle hunting is, like you said, not that far removed from like what our ancestors were doing in the same area, Yeah. And the, like I was saying, the acknowledgement of and gratitude of hunting and gathering and family, and like you said, we're also still pretty remote compared to a good chunk of the population. So it's like we have snowstorms and like weather events and fires and all these other things that we're dealing with, that we're a little bit more out, and we got to rely on our neighbors a little bit more and friends, and have our wood supply squared away, and thankful for the wood burner and thankful for all these things. So we have like more
sense of community
and gratitude for things, I think.
Imagine living in an apartment building with 100 other people and you don't know any of them. And they're right on the other side of the wall.
Yeah, and the heat,
weird.
And the heat goes out. There's nothing you can do about it except for yell at the person who's like supposed to be fixing it.
That's right. It's just so weird.
It is so weird, man. Where it's like the heat goes out, it's on me, and I got a bunch of things I can do. One of them is just, get to put another log on the fire. Yeah.
We had last year at the beginning of November, we got dumped on with 48 inches of snow, and they knew it was going to be bad, but I don't think they knew it was going to be that bad.
Yeah.
And I was out there trudging waist deep in snow because I was not prepared for that catastrophic of a storm, out there collecting wood to try to bring it in and keep that fire going because you need it.
Oh, totally, man. Yeah, 100%, which is so cool. It's like, when winter hits, I'm warming my family with the wood that we as a family went to go gather, and I used to have that flatbed Dodge that filled with brim. And then, it's on me, like you said, because sometimes it sneaks up on me too. I don't have quite the porch full of wood like I'd like, so I'm out there if I have to, cut it up real quick and split it and then bring it in. But my brother was like, he who cuts his own firewood warms himself twice.
That's right. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, because you're getting hot splitting it while you're out there, and then the stove's warming you too. And so my brother was saying that one time we're in just a heinous blizzard, man, and when he was living in Lolo and we're out splitting wood, and he's just joking around. He's like telling me that while we're battling this blowing blizzard, man. And but it's fun though. Those things you don't forget, you know.
That's right. And like I said, life's worth living.
Yeah.
And it sucks at the time, but you look back and you say, that was pretty cool. I'm glad I did that.
Yeah, totally, man. And the place that he owned at the time, his main source was a really nice boiler heat system, with the panels against the wall, like registers, and but the power went out, and so we got to keep the pipes from freezing, and we weren't prepared, happens, and went out there and just started splitting and cutting, man, and we got her done, and within I don't even know if the house even got chilly, because it was well insulated, but we got to work, and by the time we got the fire rolling, I don't know if you even would have noticed the change in temperature,
I've heard that if the United States lost all of its electrical power, that 97% of people would pass away in the first 6 weeks.
Yeah, I heard that too, man.
And that's kind of a crazy thing to think about, just how reliant everyone is on everything else and infrastructure, and not so much reliant on themselves. Do they know how to chop wood? Do they know how to start a fire from scratch? Do they know how to harvest an animal and dress it and prepare the meat? And a lot of those skills, I think people are getting complacent and they get comfortable, and comfort is death. You need to push yourself. You need to do what's hard.
Yeah.
Was it Kennedy? We didn't do it because it was easy. We did it because it was hard. And I think that's a cool motto to have in life.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, dude, I could keep talking to you all night, but that's probably
this would go on forever.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, man. This has been great. How long do you think we've been at it?
Oh gosh,
ballpark guess.
If I had to guess, maybe probably getting close to 2 hours, maybe.
A little over, man. 2:20 is what this is reading right now. So
how about it?
Yeah, it's been great, man.
We're gonna have to do part 2 sometime.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll do a part 2, and then Jerry, bring on Jerry for another,
there we go,
different session. But
Luke, it has been an absolute pleasure, and I love what you're doing with the podcast, and keep it up. I mean, I tell everyone, my firefighting buddies, my wildland firefighting buddies, rather. I spread the word, hand out stickers. You guys tune in. He's one of you. He's about it. He's speaking to the people. But I like that you can have podcasts like this where we talk about history, we talk about the outdoors, we talk about mental health and wellness. It's important. It's a little bit of everything for everyone. And just keep it up, man. It's a great podcast.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. I don't even have the words to say how much I appreciate that, man. I mean, it's like, like that helps keep me going and keep me doing this, because it's not like this is, paying the bills. Someday is the hope.
That's right. Well, as you know, with fire, it starts off small, and all you need is that wind to shift directions, and then it gets out of hand.
Yes, sir.
And you know what? I feel those winds starting to change. They're shaking the airstream right now.
Yes, sir. We're moving a little bit of movement. Thanks, dude. I appreciate that, man. And what you kind of talked about there about all the things we covered in this is, the big thing is just encouraging folks to get out and get a taste of what we're talking about, man. Like, go out and get some outdoors for yourself. Take the family on a trip. Go get lost a little bit. You know?
Go wrestle a bear. Go look for Bigfoot.
Yeah, go look for Bigfoot. Well, like you brought up earlier, man. Like, yeah, it's cool to go see like every football, stadium, NFL stadium, every MLB stadium. Yeah, those are cool, man. There's some cool history there, but like, different goal, like you said, checking out every lookout or every
national park.
Because
we have tons of them.
And they're all so different from each other.
Everglades compared to the Great Sand Dunes, compared to Glacier, compared to Acadia.
Yeah.
Joshua Tree.
Tree, yes.
The United States just has so much. Get out there and enjoy it.
Yeah, because even like Glacier versus Yellowstone, night and day different.
Yeah.
Night and day different. They're all, part of it's in the same state. Glacier's mostly or almost all in Montana. There's a little bit of Waterton that's north side, it's in Canada, but on the southern east kind of side, well, kind of more central, Yellowstone, and it's more of the seismic, like geothermal, yeah, man. And then, like you said, you get out to like Arcadia or any of the other ones, Zion, like it's
Zion,
totally different beast.
Yeah, I did the Trans Zion trek. Hiked from top to bottom and got to experience that. Dude,
incredible, hey?
I would be perfectly content, and this is a hill I will die on, that if I never leave the United States, I would be perfectly okay, because naturally we have everything that I could ever want to see. Sure, seeing an old castle would be cool. Experiencing a different culture would be cool. But you know what else is cool? Geysers.
Yes, dude.
Trees that look like people, that's pretty cool.
Yes.
These natural spires, these giant mounds of sand in the middle of the mountains.
Yeah.
It just...
Wind-carved canyons,
Wind-carved canyons. I mean, swamps bustling with life.
Yeah, like we talked about the bog,
We have everything. Get out there and enjoy it.
Yes, sir. Well, with that, I think we'll end her. Thank you so much,
Sounds
man.
Good, Luke. It was a pleasure.
Oh, pleasure's all mine. And thank you so much, folks, for tuning in. Appreciate you.
Anytime, buddy.
Yeah, thank you.